We'll do the roll call, please.
Lundgren.
Here.
Morelia.
Here.
Salzman.
Yep.
Spearing.
Yeah.
Lazy.
Yes.
Weimer.
Thank you.
Yep.
Check.
Approval of the agenda.
I make a motion.
No, we haven't. Oh, yeah, we got it.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is right there.
We'll do the approval of the agenda first.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Is that Christina?
Yeah.
Yep.
We have a motion from Deanna, second by Christine, to approve the agenda as is. We will stand to the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the minutes from the March 4th regular meeting.
What do we need to make that, do we need to change that
Yeah, that's wrong.
to the state instead of regional?
That should be
tournament?
state tournament, not regional.
Okay.
Otherwise, I approve them.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Nancy, second by Stu, to approve the March meeting with that one change from regional to the state tournament. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. March 18th, equalization meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Naima? Motion by Naima, second by Christine, to approve the March 18th equalization committee minutes. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. March 18th special meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second it.
A motion by Deanna, second by Nancy, to approve the March 18th, 2019 special meeting minutes. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Just a second. My pencil ran out.
We're gonna let Todd go ahead and go. That came from the district.
I'm just gonna sit up with you guys.
Okay. Yeah, so why not for you? You can get down there and I can scoot over. Get some room here.
See you, it's been a long time since I've seen each other. Well, you tell me when you're ready, Dave.
You go ahead.
Okay, well, for the public and for those of you that don't know me, my name is Todd Hayes. I'm the executive director of the First Planning District, located in Watertown, South Dakota. And the city of Elkton is a member of the First Planning District, has been a member since 1971. And our organization provides a variety of technical services to the city of Elkton over the course of the years, from grant writing, grant administration, policy development, and whatnot. First, a couple good things is it sounds like we got some good news last week from South Dakota DNR. I know Greg was working with you guys on working with the engineering staff on the loan grant program, so that's $3 million in grants. It's a pretty good deal on a $6 million project. So that's good. That's good. And I know the administration of those dollars will be able to assist and facilitate that for you. The state pays us, so there's no cost on the grant administration. And I'm guessing Greg will probably send down a letter of understanding to let you know that we'll be helping out with the Davis Bacon reviews and all those fun things that are associated with a big building project like this one will be. So, I'm the guy in 1998 and in 2006 helped the city with their comprehensive land use plan and zoning updates. And it doesn't seem like it's been 11 years already, but it's we're back. And we periodically get calls from staff here in the office on what does this section of the zoning ordinance mean, and do we have rules that address this, and how can we go about doing that? And so we're always there providing that technical service, and really, your zoning regulations are something that, you should look at on an annual basis just to see what have we been doing. But really a comprehensive review isn't a bad thing to do every 5. We're pushing 10 or 11 at this point, which is still fine. If they're working for you and you haven't had a lot of problems, that means we probably don't have a lot of heavy lifting to do. What we are proposing to do, and we've talked about it in the past, is that our organization would come in and help facilitate revised updates to your zoning ordinances. We would look at creating new maps, zoning maps, existing land use maps, future land use maps, working with your basic identifying water and sewer line locations, just for the purposes of land use planning. And then talk just a little bit about how is the community developing today and into the future, identifying those areas. Are we still going where we want to be going? Are there things that we should be considering doing differently? Update those policies within your land use plan, and then specifically going through the regulatory component, which is the zoning ordinance. So the land use plan will have some 30,000-foot discussions just on where should we be going, how should we be growing, where do we need to be getting there. And that will be the basis, it's the blueprint for development. And then your zoning and subdivision ordinances are really the hammer and the nails on how things get done. And so we would spend a little time doing that. I don't have a contract in hand tonight, but we would look at doing that work, I think, for $4,000 is what we had talked about. Yep. I think we've been budgeted in this year's budget. So there's a couple different ways that we can approach this. And I have started a general review of your existing rules. There's been some changes in state law, there's been some case law that's occurred, which would allow us, or which really should focus in changing those things. I noticed in this book here, you got about 65 pages of zoning regulations, somewhere in that neighborhood. You probably are going to do a major rewrite of a lot of the definition sections, because we're finding that, and all the times I'm being deposed, trying to figure out what the word "is" means, and we want to make sure if we have uses listed, words listed in here, that we want to know how they're defined. And so that's going to be an important thing. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over those definitions. We'll create some definitions. You're going to get homework, you're going to read them, and then you're going to say, I don't understand what this means, Todd, or is there a better way of saying that? And so we'll spend some time on definitions. We will talk about, within your zoning ordinance, you're probably all aware you have permitted uses and conditional uses. Those permitted uses are basically, I have all enough land and I can meet all my setbacks. It's a use by right. All I gotta do, pay my building permit fee, I can go on. Are there any things, are there uses that we're missing that we should maybe either we don't have in the book, or we should take from our conditional uses because they're automatic every time, and why do we want to create repetition and work if we're always granting that conditional use? Conditional uses are those uses that need a little bit more oversight. They're generally compatible, because if we list them in the ordinance, we're seeing that they're generally okay to be in a certain residential or commercial zoning district. We just use a public hearing process to attach any conditions. So when people come in to a room, and we have pitchforks and torches in hand, and they say, we don't want that because that use isn't the best thing for our neighborhood. Well, when we are going through these policies and these rules and regulations, if we can see that a home occupation is an okay use in the R3 zone, then when I come in, we've already predisposed ourselves saying that this is an okay thing, but maybe we want to make sure that if this home occupation, we're going to limit the hours of operation. You can't fix cars after 8 o'clock on a school night or something like that. That's what we use that kind of information for. We're going to want to talk about, do you guys see the same variance month, quarter to quarter? And if you're granting that variance every time that you see it, you should probably think about changing the rules so that we've just adjusted the bar, because a variance is basically a relaxation in the rule. I like to say bending the rules. And if I'm bending it for you, and Dave comes in, and he wants to, and I say no to Dave, now we have equal protection issues. And so we don't wanna go down that path, because we'll definitely go to court on some of those types of things. So we're gonna talk about variances. So if you're seeing yourself saying, I got a 7-foot side yard requirement in the R2 zone, but we've issued 6 foot for the last 5 times, maybe the rule should be 6 foot. Or if it should be 6 foot, what situations should it be 6 foot? And we put our performance standards in there, so if you come in, it's 7 foot unless you can do A, B, C, and D, then it's 6 foot. And guess what? Then all you gotta do is sign the permit. And we don't have to have a public hearing, go through the cost and time and expense of doing that. I've been doing this gig for about 26 years. And my thought process has really done a complete 180, maybe 360 down at 540 again. I really think that we should be looking at making our zoning rules easier to use for the public. If we have reasons that we want to restrict or regulate things, let's make sure we understand what those are, put them in the rules, and so that if we still meet these tests, you get to do what you want. But if we absolutely don't want to see something, or if we want to make something really difficult, then let's put that rule in, but then guess what? You adhere to the rule. It's no different than when my 16-year-old daughter says, I want to go out till 1. No, curfew's 11:45. You call me at 11:45, I might let you stay till 12:10. But that's dad being nice. But then the rule is no longer 11:45, it's 12:10. And again, as long as I don't treat 15-year-old daughter the same as 16-year-old daughter, then there's complaints. And so we want to make sure that however we're doing this, that we feel comfortable with the rules. Doesn't mean that this stuff is fixed in stone. It can change with time, and over time, the way the community changes. People change, different boards change, different visions, different long-term strategies change on how to make the community better. We evolve, and so hopefully, in some of our discussions, I'll get that from you, where you see the community going. And we do this thing, we do it all the time, I wish we wouldn't do it. Okay, well then let's write a policy so we don't do it. Or even give us the opportunity to do it. Or, God, I wish we would just, change the rule to encourage this, that, or the other thing. Okay, let's talk about that. And so, what I would foresee us doing is I would at least go through the basic regulations, which I'm about halfway through. Come back with some suggested things I think you need to do. And there's not a lot of discussion involved with that. You review those, and then it's just more about interpretation. If you don't understand the way I wrote something, then you can come up with ways to handle that. That's the homework stuff. Then what I would just see us doing is probably over the course of 3 to 4 meetings, once a month, as part of your normal operating, or if you want to meet more than that. Most people don't, but we could spend an hour where I'd say, okay, we're going to focus on these sections of the ordinance. Your homework is to read them, and if there's something you don't understand, you say, Todd, I don't get why this is. And then I'll probably come back and ask you questions. Is this section working for you? Are there things that we should be doing differently in the single-family residential district? Are there uses in the highway commercial district or commercial district that need to be added? How are we going to handle adult uses in this community? I mean, tough things. How do you want to handle home occupancy? Is it working? Home occupations? Do we need to be putting in greater separation distances from commercial and residential uses? I mean, those are the types of questions and conversations that we would have. And over the course of 3 to 4 meetings, depending on how much stuff you do on your end, determines the length of what we have to do on my end. And so going from there, once you go through that process, then there's an adoption process, which if we meet once a month, it's going to take us 2 months to do that. So if we get started next month in earnest, I would see Labor Day, you would have a new zoning regulation and updates to your land use plan. Best case scenario. If we have to wait till October, if it goes to October, it could, but that would be my preference. The only thing I would, throw out, if there's something on the horizon that that you think you're gonna encounter this summer that we don't have a good way of handling it, we'll suspend everything, let's tackle that next month. Okay? So that we can at least get that section of the ordinance changed to address what you think you're short this summer, because we don't wanna be holding our projects that we got short in construction seasons. It'll snow till June at this rate. You know? So that's kind of the comprehensive land use planning and zoning process and what my proposal concept would be. My question to you is, do you have something different in mind? Is there something that you would like to see added to that idea, or you know? What we normally do is we take your regulations, we have a new template that evolves every year. We incorporate that new language template into some of the things in here to see whether or not you want to include them because other communities are doing them, or we come back and say, you know, there's been changes here, here, and here in the statute and case law that you maybe want to consider how you handle that. And that's how our initial approach is. But then everything that comes out after that is through our conversations. And silence is not a good conversation starter. So questions or comments about this process, how I'm planning on doing it, unless I hear differently. Okay. Now, Susan the other day said something about, you have something else on the agenda later on.
Well, you can talk about it now.
I can't remember what it was.
Oh, 5-year planning.
Well, concept of 5-year planning, are we talking about capital improvement planning? Are you talking about
Well, the gal you should talk to is right there.
strategic economic development planning? Is it a combination of the two,
Yeah.
the whole 9 yards? Okay. Well, some of those things we would probably be doing in tandem with this land use plan. You know, the land use plan is usually a pretty narrow focus plan. We talk about infrastructure that needs to be put in the ground to develop certain types of development, you know, physical development in the community. A capital improvement plan is basically, and the engineers can come on in and talk to you about this as well. It's an approach where we say, okay, let's talk about public buildings, let's talk about public infrastructure, let's talk about parks, let's talk about all those things that you spend tax dollars on. And you take a look at it and you do an analysis of what do we have on the ground, what do we have everywhere, and what are we getting in revenues if they're enterprise, you know, types of things, or how are we funding those things on a year-to-year basis. And then we took how much we got saved. So you get an assessment of where you're at today. And it's no different than, you know, running your own household, except most people don't do it very well. Then you go out and you say, okay, what is our wish list? What's our wishes, what's our needs, what's our wants, and what, you know, it's more or less, what do we want and what do we need? And you have to look at it from that perspective. We know we're gonna need some new playground equipment sometime in the next 3 to 5 years. Or we are going to have to do a water main project, which, you know, hopefully the water sewer stuff will take care of itself over the next few
And there
years.
already is a pretty good master plan for the water
For that,
and sewer
right.
systems.
But what about public buildings? Okay, this is great, but maybe you have other public buildings that need some improvements on. What about, you know, parks? What about those types of things, museums, libraries, all that sort of stuff? Well, then you go out, and then you just make a few phone calls, you get some rough cost estimates, and what does that cost in today's dollars? And then you put it into a matrix, and you figure, okay, well, how long do we have to save to get this? Are there grant opportunities that can go in there? And what you end up doing is you adopt this capital improvements plan. And this is what the projects that we're gonna get done in 2019, or maybe we'll start with 2020. And then every year, when you're doing your budget, a CIP should be driving a lot of your budgetary discussions, especially on those physical infrastructure type needs that you need for the community. That's not a real hard thing. What we do there is what we lots of times will do is we'll help facilitate that by getting some forms, giving it to the water and the sewer guys, talking to the engineers, and talk about, you guys have to tell us what's in that inventory. You know, then we can help facilitate a discussion, you know, as part of what we're doing here. We can spend half an hour one time and just talk about, well, what is it you think we need in this, that, and the other section of city government. And then from there, we'll put those together, do some cost estimating, and then you have to come back and prioritize what you wanna do. And then, again, that helps this city council, it helps future city councils that said, hey, back in 2019, we said in 2023, we're gonna be doing this project. So half you guys get throw the bombs out and bring new people in. They don't necessarily have to follow what you're doing, but they can see that you can save in 3 years. So hopefully you can keep that vision going. So that's CIP planning and processing. Strategic community development planning is a little bit bigger, more nebulous kind of an animal. From the perspective there, you can do things through surveys, you can have a community meeting where you try to engage the public on finding out what's really important to them. You can do, some communities will do things such as they'll go out and take pictures of the community and they say, then they'll put up on the internet and you can say, what do you like about it? Is this a good or bad, or rate it? Things that you'd like to see, so they can help you with your aesthetic quality of the community. You might sit down and have a community meeting where you talk about, well, we need bike trails, or we need, whatever it is. We did this project probably 2 years ago over in Volga, and all that project was there was we sat down, city council, it was city staff, invited the schools, invited the world, but basically what they did to start with, the very initial work session was to take the community leaders from the different facets of the community, churches, schools, service providers, those types of things, economic development coordinators. Brought them in, did a 2-hour envisioning session where you just talk about ideas, and then stuff up on the wall, and people start picking what they like the most. And that, in of itself, at least gives a general direction for the city council to come back on their own and try to approach how can we get there. And it might just be, well, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z task every year to get to that. And then that also can be melded into your capital improvements plan. So it's kind of how you go about doing it is really on your own. And there's no right or wrong way of how you do it. There's some people come in, they'll charge you $75,000 to do that whole process. And most of it is just common sense. Biggest thing is having the right people there at the right time. And what we normally would do is you have that community meeting of leaders. Public can come and listen, but the conversation, you can't have 1,000 people in the room having a conversation. You can get 25 to 30 people have that conversation. And once they come up with it, then we have a community conversation about it, where the community can come in, we talk about, this is what we have come up with. Where are we right, where are we wrong? And then the community gets to weigh in on that. That comes back to the city council again, as that official body. And then they decide whether, they can get you can take the strategic plan. There is no legal basis for having a strategic plan. It's just something that you got, right? A strategic plan, I've got my capital improvement plan, I've got my land use plan. And so, if we were to dovetail all of those things into this process here, I wouldn't charge you any more money, but it ends up extending our process probably anywhere between 3 and 4 months, just because we're gonna have to have more meetings. The meetings are gonna have to be a little bit longer, just because our elephant got a lot bigger. So as we get rolling, I want to focus on the physical development initially, and as we're talking, that's gonna get my mind spinning on how best to approach. And it might very well be summertime's not a good time to do community engagement, because people are just, get them to come to a meeting at 7 o'clock at night, and everybody's out golfing and doing their thing, and it's hard to get people here. Plus, you all have a life too. And so you'll have to direct us. But I mean, if we want to, the capital improvement planning stuff, we can start off by just getting some worksheets to the people in the city hall that can start gathering information. And then from there, we'll do some legwork on our end. And then we'll come back and maybe what we end up doing is we won't do zoning one night, we'll work on the CIP facilitation. And then it'll give us more direction, and that CIP will be there. But I'm really thinking, we could do some of those things, and the CIP might then evolve a little bit after we have that community listening session. So those, if you're talking planning, this is all cool stuff, because this is what I like to do. We just have to realize the more things we throw in, I don't have a problem doing it. I'll still charge you the same amount of money whether I do this, because it's a service back to you guys. And I think it's really kind of a comprehensive way of looking at things. But you have to look at these things all together, because they're all interrelated.
Is there already a 5-year plan?
We have a rough draft of a 5-year plan, yes.
Is it from that survey that you did, or?
It's partially.
Yeah, and there's different, like I say, I mean, was that a community-wide survey that you did?
Well, and it was an attempt of a community-wide survey, yes.
Well, I mean, what kind of a response rate did you have?
One we got,
Board was probably 60%.
yeah, the rest of it was very minimal.
Well, you know, the cool thing is, and we've done this in other communities, is we set up a website and we just do a 10-question questionnaire, right? And then with your utility bills, you encourage people to do it, and guess what? Yeah, everybody that does it, and everything's kept confidential, but if they sign their name to it, you get a prize. Somebody will win a prize. And you'll be surprised, and that prize could just be, it might be a $100 dinner for somebody on Main Street, or something along those lines. And that way, if you'll get people to go in and answer 10 questions if they can win 50 or $100, right?
Yeah.
And there, you know, but we've done those types of things as well. Whether you do it online or you send it out, let's just cut down costs by doing it online.
Right.
And then if you have you know, if somebody says, well, I don't have the internet, well, you know, they can come down here and use the city's computer or whatever to do it. And that way, once we put that survey together, it's got the metrics, so when, you know, the analysis comes back really quick, and so we can at least have an idea where people are coming from. So that's something that can be done like over the course of the summer as a preliminary to a community meeting, and that's the kickoff of your community meeting, is that, hey, we had the survey done, and these are the things that we were wanting to know about, and you go from there. So there's a lot of different ways, so you just have to tell me what you think you want to do, and when I come back this next time, now that I know what you're talking about, I can even flesh out some methodology and milestones and a timeline for all 3 of these things. The big thing is I really want to make sure we get the regulatory policy in place. And that, as long as we get it in place, we know that it might morph again after other discussions. But if we're thinking about doing something like this, I can see this lasting at least till fall, or at least to the point where before we get into some adoption things. But if you're willing to sit down and talk to me, at me, with me for an hour once a month, I think we can make some headway.
I think it's important that we do that, and then we have our goals. When you can visually see your goals, you're more apt to meet those goals.
Right. I'm going to, do you guys have do you have like a projection screen or anything, you know, or nothing else? We can maybe just, on those nights, we might maybe move things around so I can project up onto the screen, because lots of times just to have that visual, we just maybe have to move it around this way differently.
Sure.
We borrow from the school.
This is good enough. I've got a projection. I got a projector. I can just shoot it up on the wall. That's fine. So that for our discussions, because lots of times it's easier visualizing, have an idea where we need to go, rather than people fumbling and bumbling and those types of things. But that's the other quick question: does everybody have a current copy of the current zoning regulations?
I don't think so.
Nope.
Okay. If you don't, you're gonna need to get one. Whether I can.
Mine isn't even updated with the stuff that.
Okay, that's the next question. If you have made changes since 2000.
Yeah, we have.
I need all of those changes, one. So, and if you want to, we can either web host that information for this process. We'll just create an open putting it out to the website on our website, and so then, once I know we have everything, we'll send an email to you, and that way everybody, they don't have to print things up, but they can just pull it up and they can read out their own, and then if they want to, they can make their own notes and questions. I hate that, I gotta have paper in my hands, I'm sorry, but that's what I like to, I'm a paper guy, too. I don't know. Sorry if I but we could do that, but I will need that information, and any rezonings, any amendments to the ordinance that you made since the last major update. If nothing else, I can at least start incorporating them into this draft, so we have something current to work off of. And then what I will end up doing is, I will be, basically, you can just send homework assignments to you, and then you send it out. Does everybody still get stuff on paper?
I have a couple that do.
Okay, well, we'll have to do it that way too.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions or comments
I have a question on a zoning thing.
on a specific zoning issue?
Mhm.
Okay.
We have a commercial property that the owner, remodeled and put an apartment in it
Okay.
without our knowledge.
Okay.
It's not above the commercial property,
It's on Main Street.
it's not on Main Street, it's on Second Street.
It's on the main floor.
It's on the main floor.
And there's still a commercial operation going on in the
And
building?
it's not really a commercial operation, there's a shed behind it, basically. It was a shed, they created a residential unit in the building. And
Is there more than one use going on in the building? Is it just a residential use?
They used it for storage for their other business, yeah. They have another business area.
Oh, I see. So the
Location.
business here, they had a storage facility, so
And-
they've converted a portion of the storage facility to residential use,
Yeah.
and they're still using part of it as commercial.
Yeah.
They get a pick.
what is that? They get a pick.
In this commercial zone, is this in the C1?
Yes, I think so.
Do we allow certain types of residences in the C1 as a conditional use?
Yeah, it said like of an apartment building or residence above a commercial
Alright,
building.
well, you got two things. One, that would be a question that you want to keep continuing that policy or changing that policy. But regardless of whatever the policy outcome is, if you want to try to allow them to continue that, they don't get to do both, they get to do one or the other. So that's why they get to pick.
But how can you have a residential
If
in a commercial area?
you decide you want to change your policy. Right now, your policy doesn't
Doesn't allow for
doesn't
that.
quite allow for it, but if you want to wait until you have a full-blown conversation of how do we want to treat residential development in a commercial zone, right now you allow for it on a two-story building. But if this is just a single-story building, the question is, well, if it's okay for a two-story building, why is it okay on a one-story building? And that's, we have to have that conversation. But today, if they came in and we converted the use to use that's not allowed, it's an illegal use. And depending on how much the city wants to enforce their zoning regulations, theoretically, you would issue a cease and desist order, which means people have to move out.
No, nobody's living in there now, the problem is they want to sell it. I talked to this
Oh, that's even better
individual.
yet, because now they wanna sell it, somebody wants to buy it
As a residential.
as a residential use, it's not allowed, the bank won't provide a mortgage on it.
Okay.
There you got it up there for now.
Okay.
Pay cash for it?
But if they pay cash for it, again, and all of a sudden they said, now I want to put a little, jungle gym for my kid in the backyard, or a little storage, 110 by 12 storage shed, they can't get a building permit to do that. And I don't wanna be a stickler or anything, but until you address those issues, and I'll have staff, we'll go around and drive the community, and we'll take looks at stuff, and we're gonna say, well, that doesn't seem quite right with your ordinance, how the hell that happened? Some of it might have happened prior to 1998, and I just don't remember, you know, which is quite possible.
This isn't that kind of a building though, it's like a huge Quonset,
Yeah.
and it used to be a feed store. So the back
Oh,
of
I
it,
know it, okay,
right
I
over
know,
there,
yeah, I
so
know where you're
the
at.
back is all cold storage, and then where the offices were, he converted that as an apartment, because they worked at Tennessee Light or own it, so they would have people stay there. but he's selling it as apartment.
Well, unless somebody's gonna pay cash, there's no bank that will borrow money on that because they can't insure it as a residential structure. Or at least anybody that's gonna do the title insurance, and once they go through that process, it'll be right to it. Now, somebody wants to go and offer cash, it is, but then realistically, and I don't know how the policy has been in the city, if this has been a city that actively enforces code, or is it enforces code based upon complaint? And those are the types of things that you have to decide. Because the more rules you write, the more rules you gotta enforce. And
But is this something that needs to be decided before it's sold? Because he said that he was told if somebody bought it and you put in another apartment, that it
And
would
it
be
could be
okay.
okay, yeah.
Okay.
because you're allowed apartments in the C2.
Yeah.
But you're not okay because it's, if they're still sharing, the commercial aspect would have to be completely gone though. Because I don't get to do, I don't get to do,
Yeah.
I don't get to do both apartments.
Right, yeah,
and-
they'd have to pick
That's
either
why I said it.
apartment or commercial, I mean,
But it's not really a business per se, is it? I mean,
but it's still
storage.
commercial
And
storage.
commercial storage is, see, you want, your ordinance also only allows one principal use per structure. And so when I have commercial storage and I have residential uses, those are two competing principal uses. So your rules don't technically allow for that. And so there's a variety of there's a lot of little things that are technically wrong by your ordinance. I'm not saying it is wrong, I'm just saying by your ordinance it's wrong. And the question is, it's not, in this situation, it's not a dumb idea. Okay, but you gotta remember, the rule in this situation will then apply to everywhere else that has the same zoning designation. And if that's something that you want to encourage. And again, I'm not gonna be here to tell you what your policy should be. I'm gonna ask you some tough questions and make you think. And in the end, you're the ones that live here, I don't. But I want to make sure that you think your way through this. That zone C1,
Yeah, I think so.
accessory retail, adult uses, truck, apartments using the upper floors of commercial buildings. In that situation there, if you can turn around and say, for the C1, if this isn't on Main Street, we're okay with having apartments in our C1 area, as long as it's not on Main Street, because we want to preserve our Main Street, because Main Street has no, and that's the problem that you run into, because in your C1 district, you have no setbacks. So I can build the whole property to be one structure. Well, then what do you do with parking? Well, if I got two apartments, the ordinance also says I gotta have 2 parking spaces for every dwelling unit, so now I gotta have 4 parking spaces. Well, what if, in this situation, I might have enough room for 4 off-street parking spaces, but if I put apartments on Main Street, I don't have enough room for required off-street parking. So it's all, and you gotta do something about policy wonk and know where everything's at inside of here to make the connections, but I can unequivocally tell you that what they're doing today is not allowed by the ordinance. And how you proceed in dealing with it, that's, again, up to you.
It is empty and they have it for sale now. is what it is.
Well, I guess if it was me, right now, there is a residence, it's empty. Currently, there's no harm, no foul, nothing's going on there. You could turn around and instruct Susan to write a letter informing them that as of today, being that there are no uses, no commercial, no residential uses, there's no violation going on. However, if a residence is to go into this building without city approval, it would be deemed an illegal use, and city may have to inform you that they have to move. However, the city is in the process of reviewing their zoning regulations, and this will be something that we will be discussing. So, that letter goes out, the individual knows that he needs to be in here talking about what they want to do to help, sway you one way or the other. But technically, right now, if somebody was to make a complaint and you had a valid complaint in front of you, you would be forced to, if somebody was living there, turn it over to your city attorney and ask for prosecution. That's a tough thing when it comes to property and land and everything. Everybody, you don't want anybody to tell me what to do with my property, but at the same time, there's things that people are doing in their property that's bugging the hell out of me. And that's where you gotta figure out where the balance is. It would be nice, these zoning rules are written for those 5% of people that just do this and don't care what you think about, it's for nuisances. Most people don't have a problem. That makes sense. I was in the military, trust right best. We want to keep things straight. We want to keep things so far back it looks nicer that way. And there's some people that, what do you mean I just can't have my 68 Bronco out in the front yard with the hood up and no wheels on it? I bought it. It's mine. This isn't America. Who the hell are you guys? Bunch of commie bastards. You hear that. Anyway, this is a small town, we should all get along. Well, again, some of the best fights I should have amongst my house. In many ways. But those are the types of things we'll have to have discussions on. And those are the things that, as you come across, and David and Susie, you guys will call us all the time. It's like, how do we handle that? We come up with a solution, and 9 times out of 10, we can find a way to make things fit. There's just some things we can't fit, and then you're gonna have to find what are those things that you don't want to fit.
Do you have a suggested fee structure that you?
Oh, for building permits fees?
Or for everything?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
I can tell you what other communities are doing. Again, you have to judge whether or not fees should be based upon, I think, a service being provided, right? Now, the main service that we're doing with fees right now is just making sure that you're compliant with your zoning regulations. We're not out there doing building inspections and rafter inspections, and plumbing and electrical are done by the state. Some communities charge large dollars because they actually have building and code enforcers to go out there. There aren't many communities that, I work in 76 towns. There's 3 or 4 that actually go out and do building inspections,
We hired somebody to, or we
You guys do
contracted
that?
with
You
somebody.
guys,
Contracted.
you same guy that does Brookings County?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good, you guys should, but have you adopted the IBC code?
Yes,
Oh, the whole thing or just pieces of it?
the whole thing.
Oh, I bet you did.
Possible.
That's a big old book, and when you got somebody signing off on your behalf as the city that this thing's been built in accordance to IBC code, and you're only inspecting foundation, rafters, walls. There's some city exposure there.
Okay, I'll have to look.
I don't know what the guy's doing for you, but that's all he does in the county. Is he does 4 inspections or 3 inspections, if that's what he's looking at. That gets you a big chunk of it, but that IBC code is huge. And it also references other international fire codes and a lot of other things that goes on there. So, good for you, that's great. I think that's that way when things are getting built and done in town, that it's being done correctly, that's great.
Yeah.
So, but back to what we were just quickly talking about. If your building code should be commensurate to what I think that's going on. If I'm gonna have a conditional use, I think, there's certain, are you gonna wrap in the publication and notice costs into the application fee, or are those gonna be in addition to just your time? Because, you guys just charge a flat fee?
Yeah, $100.
Oh God, it's too low. Because how much time?
It's $100 for each inspection, they come out.
No, I'm talking about when I need to get a conditional use. permit.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna guess, I know you don't make, I know you make a lot of money, everybody thinks you make a lot of money being city government. But even with your time and things that get interrupted and what $100 doesn't go very far. Especially when you're trying to get the applications processed, get the notices in the paper, get the adjoining property owners notified, you blow through $100 really quick. We have a publication that's probably what, $25 to $30 just for the publication costs? What do you guys have to pay?
$10
What?
probably.
What?
Only $10 for a publication about of that size.
That's it?
Yeah.
Wow, you guys are cheap.
Don't talk so loud.
Right over there. I'm gonna guess, on the average, most of the communities, something like that,
Yeah, not very big.
28 to 45.
Really?
You guys are underpriced. But there's that $10, but then do we send certified or do we send just regular mail?
Certified, no, wait, depends on what it is.
If it's a variance, or,
Variant, I think, they don't all require certified.
okay, well, those that require certified letters, and that's $6 a pop.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm just saying, those add-on costs, I think,
As of right now, I mean, my time, I usually less than an hour. I mean, and the cost of what I have to send out first and the publications, it doesn't cover, I mean, the $100 covers it, fine.
okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
I can tell you, in Hamlin County, for example, if I want to get a variance, they decided to structure it in a way that conditional uses are here. If I want a variance, I'm asking to break the rule, they make it a little painful, they charge $500. And guess what happens? The number of your variance requests
Go down.
go down. Because here's the deal, maybe I need a variance and a conditional use permit. If I don't get the variance, I can't get the conditional use permit, but I gotta ask for them both at the same time. So in Hamlin County, $750 is what that costs. And if the first question is no, the second question goes away, there's no, you know. Most communities, I would say, the size of Elkton, conditional uses to variance costs run anywhere between, at the floor it's 150, most of them are 250, 200 to 250. And we're seeing communities and counties regarding variances. We're just saying, you know what, you'd be better off coming in and asking us to change the ordinance, and then we go for the policy standpoint there, because there's really no charge for that. And if the city says, no, we don't wanna change our policy, then come back and ask for $500, and then you know, we saved you $500, because if we're not gonna change the policy, we're not gonna grant you variance. And so, that's a little 2-minute deal, as opposed to having to send everything out, invite neighbors in, have a public hearing, post, you know, all those types of things. So, we'll talk about fees and schedules and all those sorts of things. What do you charge for a building permit fee for like a $100,000 house? No one builds $100,000 houses anymore, it's just a good.
Right,
And $1
Maybe-
for 1,000 and
yeah,
$10
it's
for a
five,
permit.
yeah, $105 fee.
Okay. Well, I'm not saying that you have to, you don't wanna use building permits and those types of fees to discourage development, but there's a cost of doing business. And, do you charge the building permit inspections on top of the building permit fee? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, most communities, I mean, you know, they probably charge $100,000 house, probably around at a minimum $250. There's no inspections with that. But, you know, you can tell me again what you want. I mean, I'm not telling you that you have to charge it. You can charge nothing if you want to. It's be part of. But there are costs. And I've always viewed it, and this is my own personal philosophy, I'm asking to do something. I'm not, that you're not asking to do on my property, you're not asking, I'm asking to do something on my property that the rules require somebody reviews it. So why are you why am I asking the rest of the citizens to subsidize what I want to do on my property? So, now, the flip side of that argument would be is like, well, if the city's trying to encourage people to improve and develop their property, we're all in this together. You know, so you have to either take them into the big group community hug tank, or I'm going to the individualism type of thing. So those are all good things, and we'll talk about these things in depth, because I'm not asking for any answers tonight, but it's a good question. Any more rabbit holes you want me to dive down before we jump in? But you can see how this is gonna play out. We'll have a question, we'll talk about it. And I won't be talking much, I'm gonna be asking you what you want to do. And then they'll say, well, how does everybody else do it? And I'll give you some examples, and then we'll see what you can do.
I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I own 35 acres within inside city limits, and we're looking at putting up a shed sometime maybe late summer.
Yeah.
So
An
it's all agriculture, but it'll be used for some agriculture, some storage, and a concrete business out of it, but mostly just storage. For
The storage is gonna be related to the concrete business, or
Right.
will there be employees coming in and out of the building related to the concrete
Yeah.
business? Are those employees family, or are they non-family employees?
non-family both.
Yeah, that's probably not allowed right now in your ag zone. We may do that to look at, either changing that in the ag zone or rezoning that portion of the property to fit the commercial use. More than likely, and neither one's a heavy lift. Ordinance, again, and because the ordinance was written at a time when that wasn't going on, things change, and regulations need to reflect what the community standards are for change. And they might not have a problem, but you gotta remember, I got 35 acres and it's ag, and I'm gonna do this one little business, and it's not a whole lot going on. I might have some smaller 10-acre ag zone property, and I wanna do something that's maybe more of a business where there's gonna be retail shopping and those types of things. So what kind of business is one thing that you're trying to encourage, or discourage within a certain zone? Yeah, it is, it's gonna, our brains are hurt. We'll talk for about an hour and a half, and then we'll just gonna get the hell out of here, Todd. And then we'll come back again. We'll go through the dance again. Well, good, this helps me out a lot. I probably talked more than you wanted me to, but I wanted to get a good handle of how to set this thing up. And I'll put together a matrix and a timeline on at least what I perceive as being tasks that you want to get accomplished over the next, I won't say a year, but it might take that long. But hopefully by fall, I'll have a pretty chunk of it done.
Okay.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want me to just leave this up here for other people so they can be at
Sure.
Chad, go ahead.
I'm gonna go ahead. Okay. Is any of this on the agenda? Or am I
Yes.
just on?
No,
Okay,
you're
it
on the
is.
agenda.
All right.
Step up into my office.
I can't sit though, I gotta stand for talk. Well, as you alluded, feel we did really well, after the DNR board meeting. Susan did an excellent job getting up there and speaking. Does everyone know what you have, what you got? Okay. This first one is what they awarded for the sanitary sewer. You got a $2 million consolidated grant and another $794,000 water quality grant. I would imagine it showed up in the Brookings paper. I would imagine. Sorry, I didn't. That was too many of them. You guys get. So that was excellent. Where it does put you for rates, for sewer rates based on what their analysis was at $45 per month. So kind of like where we had talked about, or excuse me, that's the water one. Where's the sewer? $44. 44. So that's, I mean, we kind of talked about the, being around that high 40s mark at this point, and knowing that we have future phases to move forward with. I'll have you just pass around. Here is the water one. And on the water side, got a $1,164,000 principal forgiveness, which is essentially another grant. And that puts the water rates at $45 a user for a 5,000 gallon user. So very well. In fact, if I add up all of those grants plus the $400,000 DOT dollars, we're talking $4,358,000 worth of grant out of a $6.3 million project. You're pretty much right at 70% grants. So
he did very well, especially compared to where some of the other communities were. In fact, he did so well, one of the colleagues that works for another firm of mine sent me a text message saying, wow. So,
Yay.
here is a summary of all of the projects that got funded in this round, just to kind of give you an idea of what, where other people are at and what they received. And I'm short on that one because I wrote notes on one of them, so now we're ready to move the next step. Ready to start moving into design. There will be some resolutions and public meetings that need to happen with this. Greg at First District will help us along with that as well. Well, what I want to get started with is get started on the design so that we can be out to bid as soon as possible. Where contractors are at this year and what we're seeing with projects that are bidding for work this year is they're filling up extremely fast. In fact, we've got projects already. We got one bid later this week, but we've already opened that one up into next year for a portion of the work because of what we've seen on previous bids for work for this year. So I really think in order for us to get decent numbers, I want to be bidding late this fall, early winter for work into next year. So I do have an overall budget of the projects. With all of what our estimated unit prices are, probably way more detail than you want to look at. But if you look at the bottom portion of it, it has what the total project cost is, what the available funding is, and then it's got an over-under line of where we're at. And as far as the community access, drinking water, clean water ones, we all have contingency money available beyond what we've already got built into the budget. Where I do have some moved over into the local cost, which is showing a negative number just because as figuring out how you're going to finance that is the sidewalks that would not be eligible through the water program or the sanitary sewer program. So those would be the areas in front of the school. And we talked about doing special assessments on that portion of it. So to me, that portion of it's going to get picked up with special assessments. The other part that I have in there is, and I've got design contracts here, but there's a portion that we've already done on Buffalo Street. We had that contract to do the design work on that. What I'd like to do is just terminate that contract where it's at and start over. Credited for the water and the sewer for those portions of that project. And then the other credited part, which to me would not be eligible for the funding, would be that portion that was for the streets, the sidewalks, and the curb and gutter on that side. So basically, just start from new right where we're at, new contract all together. I think that'd be the simplest way to go about it. But pass this out as well, and it has the budget numbers on that. Like I said, across the line. Sorry, one color one, I forgot to hit color in the copy. So you have to sit down at this end. You get the colored one. The reason there is the different colors of the shades is the top portion is like all of your water, sewer, that part of the project, and the streets that would be repaired along with that. The green section of it is the televising, right? Mm-hmm. That would be the televising of the entire sanitary sewer system, and then the few on the darkest one at the very bottom, that is the interior and exterior coating of the water tower. So when we go to bid with these projects, it'll follow that suit. There would be 3 separate bid projects. Televising is a bid project, the water tower coating is a bid project.
I thought we didn't want to do the televising.
Yeah, we put it in there. So if we don't want to, that's fine. We can do that, but I am a little concerned that we don't know exactly what's happening phase 2 and 3, or we can just go to that portion. I don't want to find that we end up with a catastrophic in one area.
Well, I think we have a good idea where we need to start.
I'm hearing that, and I think that's the phase 1 that we've got, right? Yeah. We want to get going on it. So if we don't want to do that portion of it, we don't have to. I know we talked about that, Greg put it in the application
Okay.
just to make sure that we had it. We can look at that as additional contingency funds, or we can do something different of that nature.
So that televising is of the entire.
That is on the entire system, and we could look at that as just phase 2 and 3.
Yeah. Might not be a bad idea with the way things have been going.
Or maybe ignorance is.
It just depends on what, we'll have to look in the book here, but what's in the ground in those other phases. If it's clay pipe, it's gotta come out anyway.
And it is.
Yeah.
My only, in the idea of getting it televised, the only thing would be, knowing that we got $4 million worth of sewer work, is that we find out there's a block over there that is about ready to become a sinkhole. And we need to get that block done, and we're gonna have to swap that out for some blocks over here that maybe aren't quite as bad. That would be the only reason that I would see that we would do that. If we don't think we have that type of scenario, and it's just the fact that there's so much groundwater and infiltration happening, we feel that the pipe's all stable, then we can just move like we had been, and just go phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
But it's sitting out, the worst is by far here.
And that's a lot of why we discussed doing that at the first.
Really,
phase.
anybody down this way that's complaining about water in their basements or some pumps aren't running. And I'm down here, I haven't had any water anywhere.
Is it near, not near the problem? So, I mean, the funding's available there to do it.
But,
So, if we don't want to, that's,
Where does that
I'm
funding?
okay with that.
So the funding's there to do it. If we don't do it, where does that funding go? Just away? Or does it get?
Well, we've got some available contingencies, and what we could do in doing that is the possibility of seeing where the bids come in. We can maybe add another couple blocks onto the phase 1 to use up that available funding. If we're right on the heels of this, of going into the next phases, we can use some of that to roll over into other projects. I know when we did it, Miller got their phase 3 funded of this similar type project. When we got into phase 1, the bids came in where we wanted them to, or low. We had additional funding. We ended up change ordering in 2 or 3 extra blocks to push it into that funding. And with what we got for grant percentages, we want to push as much into this as we can.
So Steve, is there anywhere other than phase 1 that you know of is having issues at all? No?
Just one block, kind of Antelope, I know there's something going on there.
So it might be smart to just
Well, then we've
televise where
also
we
talked
know
about
issues.
televising underneath the field.
Track.
Oh, right, because we want to find out for sure where that sanitary sewer line runs. If
Yeah.
it's underneath the track, I think that's one we need to televise and one we need to line,
Yeah.
because we don't want to tear up the track.
So you're gonna have one of them under the school too, and then
Right.
one of them under the fertilizer.
And we could put that all 3 of those together as a lining project
Okay.
and line all 3 of those as part of this.
Do you think it would be smart to televise the spot where you think there might be having issues?
Yep.
At least then we know what's going on and we're not gonna get a curveball thrown at us.
And we can put together, yeah, I mean, if we want to do some different areas, do some smaller sections of it, we can. Any other questions? See, my contractor here is really digging into these unit prices.
I just shocked on mobilization cost, but
On that, it's just a percentage.
is that from Florida or what?
Just curious.
It-
I mean, we
it
bump
gen-
grains in all the time,
Right,
and it's
right.
just like, I know it's expensive, but.
It generally runs 8 to 10% of a project. I had a $7 million project that just bid in Mitchell this last year, and it had some difficulties with the project. It came in at just shy of 20% on that project. And that was a $7 million one. So, but, yeah.
Jeff, how long have you been working with the city on this project to get this moving?
to get this one.
So, when did you first start working with the city, with sewer?
Well, let's see, I want to say, well, when did we finish that report? It was March, but it had been at least a year before
So it's
that.
not very long.
2-3 years, right?
Okay.
Probably.
I'm just wondering because I'm kind of upset, like, that we've known this has been in the ground for 30 plus years.
Yeah.
We know we've had issues for the last 10, 20 years, 5, 10, 20 years, whatever. And how come the city hasn't been putting money away for this? How come this is the first we're talking about it? Like, this is stuff that should have been happening.
We made the
Previous city councils should have been doing this.
We made the motions already a year ago to start with this project.
But that's a year ago.
But it wasn't done before that.
I'm just wondering.
I think Dave is the only one in the room that was on here at that time.
But this has been discussed for years and years and years, right, Dave?
Yeah.
I've
We
said
know we had a
the
problem in the
sidewalk.
ground. Why wasn't there money being put away for it?
That's why we need a capital improvement plan.
Now we're getting hit with this.
But that's why they don't wanna do the sidewalks and stuff, because they don't want, okay, you're okay with it, but your neighbor might not be, they don't want it on their taxes and they don't wanna pay for it.
Well, we're already gonna get a nice little bump in utility bills, so.
We don't have one single, you can't walk from one end of this town to the next with a sidewalk. And I don't care if the kids don't use the sidewalks or what the reasoning is. You can't be
I'm not
asking.
talking about sidewalk, I'm talking about
But
sewer.
everything, it's everything.
Yeah.
If you start with one, you should be doing everything. Whether I have to pay for it or not, I'm fine with it. You have to do it. You can't have, I mean, this sewer is from when?
Yeah, a long time ago.
75 years ago, probably.
At least, yeah.
And it's been brought up.
Yeah.
I mean, you get down on Kenner's edition and Bemsey edition, that stuff is all new.
In the 70s.
Yeah. But this part over here has got to be at least 75 years old. And some of this going this way is also 75 years old.
But the important thing is, the council that's in place now is doing something about it.
Yep.
We can't speed up that process anymore, but we can make it right, which is important.
The school project was approved a year ago.
Right, we were about ready to, we were gonna try to go to bid last spring, and then we decided we needed to look at this
New council.
bigger picture a little bit more, right?
And we threw
Well,
this
and
big
the problem
picture
child
And-
over here.
And in 2008, was it that we looked at the sanitary sewer system and moved forward with the lagoon project at that point?
And that's part of the reason we didn't put away more, is because we were working on that.
Right, well, and I don't know what the surcharge and what the rates were that went to that one at that time, or what they were previous to that.
70 something.
To where you're coming from, I've been in a lot of communities where I've gone in and they've had a $8 sewer fee or a $10 sewer fee, and they haven't done anything since it was installed by hand, you know, and all of a sudden they're going to the $40 and the $50 as well.
Yeah.
So, and I've heard your statement before from other councils, so. We went at one council meeting, I presented just the water and the sewer, just talked about all the stuff that's coming down the road. I mean, they were at a point that didn't have catastrophic issues going on like you do here. But when we talked about how old the system was, there was a gentleman there that was just upset. It's like,
We got people's basements backing up with sewer.
Right.
We got street workers working 24/7 basically.
You got
so more sewer, more basements don't get flooded. Like, this is ridiculous.
yeah, you got two pumps sitting in the ditch just throwing water out. Right. And I mean, this needs to move forward.
Yeah.
I see it, so.
Should have been done a long time ago.
I do have contracts that lay it out like is there. If you want me to revise anything as far as the televising goes, or if we want to do an amendment to it later, we can. If we want to change how some of that is. But I would like to get started on all the other design work as much as possible. So I do have those with me. The numbers are as listed in there. They are broke up a little bit more as far as into a preliminary design phase and a final design phase. The only reason we do that is just we try to do a preliminary as we get to a part so that we can sit down as a council and review it, know where we're at, and then we'll finalize it after that point. The construction phase of it, in the contract, it's split into two sections. One is the construction administration, where we take care of all the pay requests, shop drawings, basically my time and some of that. That's all, that would be a lump sum portion, and then we have a field representative that would be on site doing testing, checking compaction, keeping track of quantities, keeping a good set of as-built drawings of where stuff actually gets installed and what we find. That's all at an hourly rate for that portion of it, and we'll pay for what we use.
Did you say we'll have compaction testing?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Compaction, concrete testing, that's.
Do you know your numbers here? Are they 97 or?
What's that?
The compaction rate?
We're gonna be 95 or 97% underneath the streets. If it's in a grass area, we're usually at 90%. That'll all be within the design specifications.
Do we need any motions to get this going, or?
I would need a motion to go on the design contracts, unless if you guys want to go through them in any more detail. I mean,
I'll make a motion to go ahead with the design.
Christina?
We can amend the televising aspect later.
Yes, I won't do anything with the televising now. We can come talk about it a little bit later, but I do want to get surveys crews lined up for getting here and start collecting information. We might do an aerial survey of it, if I can get them here fast enough to do the aerial survey. If not, it will all be boots on the ground for it, but it doesn't change anything from what you guys have.
Sooner the better.
All right, we have a motion from Sue, second by Christina, to go ahead with the design contract. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. You need that signed?
If you want to sign them, I can take copies with me. Or do it later and mail it to you.
Yeah, Jeff, thanks for all your work, man. You worked hard on this.
Exciting to hear you guys talk about community planning. Mitchell's doing a lot of that right now. I've been in a couple think tank sessions and stuff like that, so.
So you'll get involved in ours.
If you want me, absolutely. Yeah,
I mean,
when we talk
you have
about
our comprehensive
plan
knowledge
as
of
far
our
as your,
sources.
right, the non-exciting stuff, I got that all.
Stuff we have to pay for.
It was
So-
aligned, that's what the problem was.
I can't help much with buildings, so
sidewalk
I can get
for
people involved as far as parts and that sort of stuff. Like, one thing that I'll suggest that I think has worked really well on a couple that I've been to, we talked about being a bunch of your ideas. Just that one where they had, do you think that, I can't remember, is the community's involvement or involvement by the organizations a strong or weak aspect from it, stuff like that. But they had these large post-it things, they stuck them all on the wall. And then they had all of us community members that were there, there was like 100 of us. They gave us like 6 green dots and 6 red dots. And if you liked the idea that was there, you wanted to put a green dot on it. If you really liked that idea, you put multiple green dots. And if you didn't like it, you put red. And it was amazing when they had everyone do that was in that group, how consistent it was. But you still had some outliers that were almost 50-50. So if you get to that where you want to start talking about needs or what the community wants, I think that was what I've seen for that happen is worked really well. The other place where I did that was the Corner House. They redid a park plaza area right next to it. So we talked about different features, and they had these notes with the different features on it. And you went to put your dot by which feature. It worked really well.
For other councils.
You said you could involve people in parks projects and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I can bring some in with that, a landscape architect.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do, we've been involved with,
like the other.
Watertown just built a new softball complex, our office out of Aberdeen helped with that.
We were just gonna move
So,
forward with those
and
three
we can help with
blocks.
some of those type of cost estimates as well.
Or 4 blocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have knowledge of anything like like the safe routes for school, some of
Yes,
those things on.
and I've met with the council before, we've talked about it previously. The program funds very well, I mean, they'll fund up to 80%. It is not a great program otherwise though, because there is a ton of hoops to jump through to get there. If I was gonna do a sidewalk or a trail project that was not through this DOT, it'd be like one sheet per block maybe for the plan set. And when I have to follow the DOT's part, I go from like a 10-page plan set to like 50. Because there's just a lot of stuff they want. They require DOT certified contractors. It goes to the DOT bidding process. Generally, it still is a better deal because you can get up to 80% funded for it. But I will say the last time that I was talking with Dave about those projects and knowing we have all these water and sewer stuff that needs to happen, I wouldn't start putting sidewalk or trail in those areas until we can get by that with those utilities. Because we certainly don't want to tear it out right after we got it in.
Do any, I don't remember off the top of my head, do any of the zone 2 or 3 involve anything with the park?
Well,
Just around it. No,
Or around it, but not through it, right?
I think,
there's a water line that runs through the middle of the, oh, excuse me, it's not sewer. This is the sewer one. There must be a sewer line that runs through the middle of the park area.
Okay.
So, and it looks like the west half of that must be clay, and that must switch to PVC after that.
Right under our playground.
So, but that line probably doesn't have, unless there's, I mean, there is a picnic shelter or something over in that area, isn't there?
Yeah.
So that's probably got a service line, but that's probably it. That might be another one that we could look at to line. Because the line out there work if there's not a lot of service lines.
Or you want to have one.
I don't remember if there was a water line in that.
That's on there, right? Because there is.
there's nothing.
No, there's not.
Just the bathroom there.
Yeah, we're gonna,
Yeah.
I don't think it affects the water that much. I mean, there is
Sewer line going through the park.
on Second.
How would that sewer line go?
Sewer line going up, water line would be, gotta be sewer line going up to Kennedy's.
So, I mean, there's water main here that would be
That
replaced.
should be through the
That doesn't
park.
affect it. I just know there's people.
That's going
looking at
down to
doing
that
a
lift
project in
station.
a park as a
Okay, yep.
And move to the lift station and
Sure.
get before you done.
That would be something they want to know before they come in and do that organization.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, thank you very much.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll move on then. Citizen comments.
I talked to Steve earlier, had the plumbers down, or if we go ahead and do the shed or whatever, we're probably gonna put a bathroom in there. So the closest city sewer line is half a block away.
That'd be on the end of Antelope or down in that corner of, by Mark Smith's there.
So I guess I'd be asking the city to bring it to the property line or whatever, or put a septic system in.
Where are you kind of putting it on your,
It'd be south of the farm somewhere.
so like across from, like by Greg's house or?
North,
that?
yeah. It'd be right south of the fence
Oh.
somewhere in there, somewhere. But nothing needs to be done today, tomorrow, next month.
How far would Mark be from?
Well, he'd be getting probably a half block away, so.
The other one's at the end of Antelope, or is it in the alley on the Antelope?
No,
Or in between?
it's in the street and the Antelope. Right there in front of your red gate.
We'll have to look at it.
And then I also have a couple concerns, I guess. I was watching, the city council meetings on the internet last night, and there is executive sessions that's posted on YouTube.
that's after executive session.
Should be on it.
It's when we come out and then we vote on things after that. Or make a motion after that.
We can't vote or do anything in executive session that way. We have to come out of executive session, then vote on that stuff.
But from what I heard on the internet, it said it was in executive session. I never heard a motion saying you're coming out of it or anything like that.
You wouldn't hear that.
You wouldn't hear that.
But it was,
Camera got turned on after we got out of the executive session.
okay.
Yeah, we
Shut it off.
Quick flick.
we shut that off.
So future reference, maybe you wait to do that motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Until it
Cause I was kinda wondering the same thing,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
So we made the motion in there to go out of executive, and we shouldn't do that. You're right.
But not the way it is on the YouTube that we watched anyways.
I'm glad you're watching it.
Oh, yeah. So I mean, that had me alarmed. To say the least, but because there is, I mean, some technical stuff in there that probably doesn't need to be.
So you thought there was stuff that was taped that shouldn't have been?
Yes, that's what he was questioning.
Stuff that was published that should have been.
But
Not
on
taped.
YouTube?
Everything could be taped.
No, I mean,
Everything should be taped.
what you saw
Yes,
at the end there,
yes.
that shouldn't have been on there?
Some of the stuff, I think, but whatever. It's public knowledge afterwards, so I mean.
Yeah.
Well, we made a motion to go out of executive.
But that should be done after we come out
We
of.
don't make no motions.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we
And then she went back over and turned the camera
Turn it
on.
on.
So everything after, when the camera came back on, that's public.
Or you just announce we are now in
Yeah.
regular session.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
should probably do that.
Yep.
So that people know.
It's
Because,
not confusing.
yes, technically you
I had
should, the motion to go out of executive session isn't really a motion. You make it, but if you're in agreement, but it's not really technically a motion because you can't make a motion in executive session.
That's what I thought.
It wouldn't hurt to announce who the people are either. People sitting at home tonight are gonna have no idea who those people were because, well, the one guy introduced himself, the other guy didn't. So it wouldn't hurt to introduce who those people are when they talk.
Well, the last guy was Jeff with SPN.
Our engineer.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Todd.
He introduced himself.
He introduced himself.
And I do have a microphone that next time I'll bring in, and I'm just waiting on the cord to run it that far. No clips, but
And
then you can hear it a little bit better.
And as far as citizens' comments to buttress up on what you had said, someone made a mention that we should all have name tags because not everybody knows who everybody is, right here. And the other, yes, in front of us. And the other thing that was mentioned, and I'm glad that thank you for watching too. The people that had suggested that the taping, the videoing, etc. be done, we're very happy that it was done. As you can see, people have been watching it. The other thing that I found, which was very disturbing, is people had told me that they had not felt welcome at the different council meetings. And for the record, I'm really glad that people are excited about seeing us, seeing what we're doing. And for right now, this is not April Fool's. I pledge to make sure that everyone is welcome. This is something that I think that we all should do. We should work to make sure that everybody is welcome. And if they don't feel welcome, you know where my number is. Give me a call because we're doing your bidding. We work for you. And I think that all of us feel that way for the most part. Sometimes it might get heated just like family, but we shouldn't have a problem. People shouldn't have a problem in our establishment, the bar. People should feel welcome. I was told today people didn't feel welcome going there. We need to embrace our town because we do not want to die. So if people are having a problem coming to the meetings because they don't feel welcome or don't feel welcome going to the bar, and they want to spend their money and they go someplace else, we're losing money. We're losing money, we're losing faith. We've got families, income, and we're losing families going away from our school. We gotta turn this around. We definitely have to turn it around. So the people that wanted it, we have it. I'm glad you watched it. Thank you for bringing that up, because if you don't say, we don't know.
And I looked earlier and our first video had 109 views. So it's pretty good. And top 7, 49.
So I'd like to add to Naima's thing, I've kind of sat in the last month and thinking things, so I kind of wrote this down today, so if you kind of, I've lived in Elkton for 30 years and in the ward area for the rest of my life. I've been coming to town meetings for years, which a lot of them will know, some of you may not. And sometimes I say, I'm not coming back again, and last month was one of them. And I have heard from a lot of people in town that they would never come to a meeting, they're not gonna say anything, because if they do, they go get talked about over coffee that you brought something up or doing whatever. I just wanna say that when I come to the meeting, I'm coming for Elkton, and it's out of concern, and it's for a thought or an idea for Elkton to grow. And, you know, just stuff for the residents. It's not for a personal reason really for me. And my reason is that I feel that, like, I vote for you guys, and my thought was that you guys were here to listen to the residents and to do for the better for Elkton, to help the community and to help do community service. Not for you personally to go do a service. If there's something coming up or whatever, that we find people that are gonna help us. We ask for volunteers. I know we don't always get them. Sometimes it's always the same people that go out and do it. I know I'm repeating myself when I come here for years and years, and the issue is with the homes, the hazardous homes, buildings, the garages, the rodents, the sidewalks, you know, the water, sewer, all that kind of stuff, and now we're paying the price. I think I've said this in several meetings. It's kind of like you maintain your car, your wheels, your oil, all that. We haven't done that in Elkton, and I don't know why. And I totally agree with you, and that's exactly why I asked you when I was doing daycare for you to run for council, because I knew that you'd be good at doing this. Same way like the cars. I think you guys have an ordinance now. So I guess I'm begging you that you have 2 months to go out there and get this stuff cleaned up. And I don't care who you are, you know, if it's your friend, your relative, or it might even be any of us. If there's something sitting there and it needs to be cleaned up, they should be getting notice and get that stuff out. And if not, then you need to do your other part or whatever you need to do.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Janelle, because I wrote down a note here. Spring cleanup's coming up, and we're gonna post it in the paper and this and that. But we're also gonna post, well, not for sure yet, but violations are gonna start after spring cleanup. So, you know, abandoned cars, junk, garages, whatever, people are gonna start getting fined.
But do you wanna do it after spring cleanup? Cause that's when you wanna give them notice, right now.
Well, they're gonna get a warning, and then they're gonna get a warning notice, and then we're gonna start handing out violations. But after, they're gonna give them the chance to get their stuff to the curb, and,
But we don't want it out there for months at a time. You get a week to put your stuff out on the curb. If you put it out beforehand, we could issue a warning and fine, and then come clean it up.
And that's the other thing that I'm here about, because at the last meeting, that's what I had asked, was we have a junk guy. We've had him for years, we've got a lot of appliances with our rentals. And so I asked the city, because he said, I'll bring a trailer in and park it, which most towns do, and then you can bring your stuff there. Well, not everybody can bring it there, you know, or whatever. So Terry and I volunteered that cement slab behind our rental property on 225 Elk Street, that they could put it there. He's gonna put a trailer there, or if it's just sitting there, he's gonna come get it. And I mean, he takes like everything, you know, bikes, appliances,
and if
automobiles.
people do have trailers, the landfill's free, coming up here, so,
But that kind of stuff, you don't have to haul to the landfill.
Yeah.
I mean,
The landfill will charge you for appliances.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, the spring cleanup, is starting there April 8th, so, the landfill is usually, mostly everything's free. So
No, not the appliances and that
yeah,
kind of thing.
I know.
you mean
that's
like
what
trashy
she's-
stuff.
Yeah, the trashy stuff, and then, no Freon, no,
Right.
they don't want fridges, they don't want anything in that anymore.
But if you know anybody or get the word out there, I had said that he can call Susan, we'll get an address, he will take a vehicle. I mean, pretty much anything.
And I
You have
think
that,
Susan
Aaron?
will
Is
put
that
that on her
Aaron?
poster for cleanup days, right? And then
I don't really have room for it, but
we'll put it on the next page under the poster. We'll
Put
just,
what on there?
your information on the
Oh.
stuff, with the trailer and the guy coming and picking it up. So
Well,
that's
I did
important.
give her, she might put it on the side thing if she has room, but it's on Facebook.
But, yeah, we can just copy and paste from Facebook and then put it on another sheet underneath that, which isn't a big deal.
Right.
And on the board, we need to utilize our next board.
They did a good job for the water. Senex did a good job.
Anything else?
Along the lines of cleanup days, I've had comments coming from both sides. It needs to be earlier, it needs to be later. The majority of what I have had personally come to me is most people want it later, not so early. A few people want it earlier before graduation, so.
It is kinda late, isn't it?
May
Yes.
31st, right?
Yeah, it's later than normal, but
Yeah.
which we discussed yesterday, May 31st is right before rummage sales, so I did check with Cooks. They said that June 7th is available. We could always push it out a week more.
So that is my question with the rummage sales. It's always the first Saturday of the month, right? So it
Yeah.
will be June 1st.
Yeah.
And then the people add on the May 30th
Friday.
and 31st if they want to. Okay, I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure.
Would it be, would it be a good deal? The rummage sale is the 1st of June, and when the rummage sale is over, then people have things that they wanna get rid of. Okay, so then if you have it later, you know, that would work. But what about being able to put into that trailer of yours? If people have things that they wanna go before graduation, then so.
Oh, the trailer is not there, but,
She's got a sign up there.
Right.
when we had that bad storm, it took that garage out, so there's a cement slab there. But he will come and pick it up. I mean, he already came and got a load from us and from a couple other people that we knew or whatever, but.
Okay, so then it would be, but it's open to leave things there
Yes.
now, but it's not a container.
Right.
So things would be there
On the
willy-nilly.
cement slab.
That are scrap metal is what he
Yes.
wants, right?
Yeah.
where's that actually at?
Right
Right behind that house by the Baptist church.
Across the street from the Baptist church, there's a cement slab that was got like garage.
There's a great big sign, I just put it out there
Yep,
today, cause I
I saw
had
it.
people calling me, cause
Say the address real slow.
225 Elk.
That way everybody gets it.
no TVs and no garbage, please.
Metal.
No TVs.
Scrap metal.
Scrap metal,
Scrap metal, bikes, your old exercise equipment, bed frames, you don't need to take it to the landfill.
He takes it.
He takes everything.
I wonder
Automobiles.
if it's the guy that took our old car. I wonder. Anyway, okay, I digress.
Okay, let's move on. Are there anything else citizen comment wise?
Well, I just got one for, Steve and I were talking this morning, we talked about this in months past, but that, those gas powered pumps out there by the church, pumping the, access, I tried to get some numbers today from my engineer at work, through Otter Tail to try and get, costs as far as putting in a service and being done with it. But I think we could probably just install our end from an Otter Tail's end for free. Put a transformer out there, digging a small service to a meter. Our pumping rate, did a little math here today. What did we think, 1 horse?
Yeah.
Maybe even if it was a 2-horse motor. 1-horse motor would be, on the pumping rate, would be about $1 a day. 2 horse would be double that. And the pumping rate's dang cheap. It's 4 cents a kilowatt hour, plus a $3 service fee a month. It's pretty cheap. I don't know what you're spending the day on the time to go down there, refuel and
pretty much all
oil
day,
and
15, 20 gallons of gas a day. So
That would be well worth it.
I don't know how permanent it is. You know,
We don't know. How do we know?
But part of the deal is too, we are a little more flexible with working with municipals, as you know, as we try to be, because we do serve the whole community. But we would like to see it there for a minimum of 3 years. You know, we don't want to go out and Otter Tail doesn't want to just go out and put up a service for a month and then take our investment down. I don't know how much of a permanent thing this is gonna be, but it's been out there for long enough for my justification to bring it up. And I know we've talked about it months in the past, but I don't know if that's something the
Well,
city's interested in.
we
or-
don't get to the street project until next year. We'll be
It looks
using
like it'd be here
just
another
all
year.
This year.
Yeah, you know,
Right.
We've been pumping it the whole time.
Right. So, you know, how we look at it is if Otter Tail can get their investment back in 3 years, we don't charge. So based on $1,000 or $1,500 investment on our part, you know, we wouldn't have to charge. But again, I don't wanna go out there, and my boss isn't gonna go out there and put something up just to take it down 6 months from now. And,
Right.
you know, I mean, granted, I'll work with you if something changes dramatically, yeah, we can forgive it. But, you know, I just wanna, I see him out there on a Sunday afternoon the other day, and it's like, this is dumb. You know, he's out there getting fuel, and,
Yeah.
you know, he's got better things to do on Sundays, so. That just, you know, whatever, that's what it would cost, about $1 a day. To run a 1 horsepower pump, whatever that would be, so.
We need a 1 or a 2, Steve?
Don't know yet.
How many do you need?
Yeah.
But point being is, the horsepower all depends on the bill amount. That's all I'm saying, a 1 horsepower pump's gonna be about $1 a day to run, so,
Yeah.
so that's.
I think that's a marvelous idea. I
Keep,
think Steve's gonna.
keep it in mind though,
Do
that,
you want me to put your phone number on there or no?
right, keep it in mind though, it's gonna take electrician's cost to get, you know, you gotta buy a meter socket, you gotta get some outlets there. I would make it so you could, you know, get all your investment back, meaning, I don't know if I'd go trenching a bunch of underground permanently, you just put a couple outlets there, you got hoses there, you can't run over anyway, so you just put a couple outlets there, and if 4 years from now, all you can do is tear it out, you can have all that equipment and do whatever you want with it, but that's just a,
Make you better off with 2 horse.
I don't know if that'll even be big enough.
Is
'Cause
that-
right now, we're pumping probably 500 to 600 gallons, you know, a minute out of there. I mean, we're using a 3-inch and a 2-inch pump, so it's moving a lot of water. The problem you got is, you gotta keep the water down by that trough, otherwise it's starting to back up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not gonna take that big of a pump all the time, but when it's like this, it takes that big of a pump, so.
You'd have one full, so anyway, right?
Oh, yeah, way cheaper.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, those pumps don't last forever either, I mean, they're gonna
Yeah.
be, we've shelled out many of
Yeah.
those, so.
I think to go ahead.
Yeah.
Think we need a motion on that?
Yes.
I make a motion to go ahead with the 2 horse pump.
Second.
Stu made a motion to go ahead and.
Point of order, how many do you need? Just 1 or do you need 2?
Well, I don't know, we're gonna have to do.
They would have the
we're gonna have
electricity
to do
there.
some math and stuff here, just to figure out what we need. I can get a hold of Dakota Pump and they can kinda direct us, because problem you're gonna have when you go from gas, you can pump a lot of water pretty fast. Electric, you can't quite do that, so that's why you gotta have a bigger pump to pump more water, obviously.
But you'll have enough electricity to run a couple
Yeah.
motors if we.
right,
need.
right, yeah.
He can run anything
Yeah.
you need to run, he just needs to know.
Right.
So this motion is to give Otter Tail the right to go in and
Yes.
and do
Same
it.
cost.
Okay.
They decide what they want to do.
And I would amend it to allow Steve to make the final decision after all of his thought processes. So with that, I'd amend it.
So we have a motion from Stu, seconded by John, go ahead and have you put that in with Steve's okay on what we need and so on.
Greg, I've,
All in,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah, motion carried.
Greg, have you heard on the lights?
Lights are in.
They're,
Well,
They're
they're in,
ordered.
they're waiting for us to, install, but they have arrived.
okay, good.
He just called me the other day, in fact, so, and, the approval of the bucket truck, has been done, and.
Just waiting on a nice
Waiting
sunny
on,
day.
We ain't going out there now.
And dry ground.
Yeah, well, in fact, I just talked to Harold today, and, I told him we'd give him another 2 weeks, and I think, like 2 weeks from now, I think it'll probably be.
frozen back up.
Yeah.
I hope not. You won't see me if it is.
so we'll move on.
And then, what were the decision, did you get a hold of, Elton Electric as far as the soccer field?
No, I didn't, I tried calling him, I didn't get him, he got back to me.
Okay. So
We
I'll
were
wait to
talking
hear.
about poles,
Right.
is what we're talking about right now. I gotta talk, I'll call Justin in the morning.
Wasn't that about $18,000 bid?
16 to 18.
18, but we didn't get any grants.
No grant money, no. But what we're talking about right now is if they needed to get poles, we've got poles out here that would work. The city has them.
Right.
And-
Well, the only reason I wanted to bring it up is because if you do need something from Otter Tail, you know, we need to know sooner than later.
Sooner, right.
Because I don't want everybody to be waiting on me.
Yep.
Or, you know, that's all I'm saying.
So I'll call Justin in the morning and have him tell us what we really need.
Alright.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on then. Public Works.
What happened to the building permit?
Yeah. We're on Gordon Lane.
All right, building permit.
Okay, I issued a building permit for Gordon Lee to, construct a 12 by 20 garden shed with a concrete floor. And then they'll also add a concrete slab for their, LP tank on their property at 202 Antelope. And then I just had one come in today for Mark Smith at 715 Elk Street. They're going to add, lengthen the size of their garden shed by 3 or 4 feet with the roof going with it to add extra space. That's it.
All right, go ahead, Steve.
Just to kind of give everybody an update on the water. We've got a pump down there by the bus garage, and then I got a 2-inch pump in that lift station up there. That runs constantly. It's been running constantly since we've had this issue. The pump that's in there pumps too much water. That's a 4-inch pump. And when you do that, it floods the line and it backs up into Henry Willard's, you know, kind of all the people in that low-lying street there. So you can't do that. So this 2-inch pump, that keeps the line pretty much full. It seems to be working good. It's keeping the water level down and out of everybody's basements, but I don't think it's far from being able to go in there again. So that's kind of why we're still on minimal water usage, I guess. So, and we're just pumping like crazy out there. That's another thing that we need to talk about too, is that main line going out. I don't know how much Jeff knows about that, but we need to address that too. As far as putting the tile and stuff out there, that'll probably work out here. I think that's just putting a Band-Aid on by that sewer line. I think it needs to be dug up and resealed again around those manholes. By putting that drain tile there, I don't think you're gonna be able to get it down deep enough. It's not gonna be real cost effective to have it dug out and then tiled the depth of where it's gotta be. So, but I'm still working with John Vasky on that. There were some issues on his end that he was working on. That's pretty much where that's at. So, I have the electric service on here from Otter Tail too. I talked to Bryce Hanson about getting another tractor. He said we could probably get it maybe the end of this month again for the box scraper and stuff. Still that same deal, $1 a month for 6 months, up to $100. So it's basically nothing. Our mower is in too. That'll probably be next week. They just got to put it together and stuff, and then they'll bring it over and swap it out. And then probably next week, maybe the weekend, maybe the week after, we'll start scraping the alleys and stuff in there. But there's still quite a bit of frost in those, so that's all I got.
I will say, when we canvassed the whole town, we gave out, 350 flyers. Not one person had a complaint on you. Everybody commended you for what you're doing and is very grateful for your efforts and your hard work. So thank you.
One thing I'd like to add too is the rags in there. It's just ridiculous. Yet, I cannot understand why people use the sewer system as a garbage can. And then, just last week, I was down here, thought we had a water leak down here on the end of Elk Street, right across the tracks here. Here it was an abandoned house with a sump pump running in to our sewer system. So I went down, unplugged it, door was open, went in and unplugged it. There's 18 inches of water in the basement. So I get a hold of it's got a mortgage sign on the door with a number on. I call them. She assures me there's nothing wrong. So there's a guy here all day Saturday pumping water, and he leaves Saturday night. I go down there again today. He goes and plugs the sump pump in again. Needless to say, that sump pump's not going to run again. So this is just the crap that we deal with every day, and it's just ridiculous.
He had 4 sump pumps in there Saturday, and then he went and got a 5th one to get it down.
Yeah.
There was 6 foot of water in there.
Yes.
So that's my question. From the outside, can you tell if a house is running their sump pump inside?
You can hear it.
Okay.
Yep.
So, I mean, we're working on a fine for that process, and that will be stopped immediately.
Well, that is not helping.
No.
Nothing. So
It's just common sense too, it's, I understand people.
Now,
Yeah.
and you're saying that people are still putting garbage?
yes, yeah,
Is there a way
Wipes.
to,
Wipes.
is there,
yeah. It's wipes and
right, is there a way to depict if it's this side or that side?
it all comes out in one line.
Yeah.
So there's no way to isolate nothing.
Need
No.
bathroom inspectors.
It's crazy, cause it happens at 3M. They put their hair nuts and stuff in there. I don't get it. We have the problem they've had put actual deals in the every toilet there to stop that.
Stuff
Cause
out.
people's stuff, I don't get it.
Um,
It's crazy what they had to spend on toilets up there.
Steve, I know, Susan, I know it's kinda late in the year, and I don't know if the budget would allow it, but Steve, would it help you this summer to get a summer helper just to help you mow, so you and, Lunchbox can keep up on the water, or?
Probably at this rate. I mean,
Okay, I don't know if that's something we can put out in the papers, if we can get, summer help for you.
Yeah, we can.
If it was like last year, the only time you didn't mow was when it wasn't raining.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
either rained or
How
something.
many
Well, I mean,
hours
you
are
could-
you talking?
How many hours would you be looking at?
It just depended on the weather. It could be 40 one week and nothing the next week, you know. But
I mean,
yeah,
help
that's,
you,
we got plenty of stuff to do. I mean,
Yeah.
we got drainage stuff to do. We got,
So 10 to 25, so you think,
Yeah.
just, I mean, obviously, if we need them more, we'll do that.
yeah.
Don't they have that program like when I worked for the city back in the day, where through South Dakota?
Well, I don't know, we'd have to look into it, you know.
we hire summer help every year in Brookings, so.
We don't get, they always used to have something where, Todd Eagle worked every summer
Yeah, I don't
for
think
the
they have
city
that
health and
anymore.
a couple worked at the school. It was something through jobs.
I mean, you'll get some high school kids that get paid to mow some lawns. I mean, there's,
Yeah.
I'm sure you.
Another option might be like Teen Challenge. Those guys are always doing volunteer work. I don't know how that would work insurance wise kind of thing, but I know they go and clean up like Larson's and all sorts of places and they don't get paid, I don't think. But
Well, we'd have to get something in the paper for that, so we'd have to do. And let Steve do the interviews, so, cause he's gonna have to be the one working with them and.
Okay.
So you wanna do something? You wanna get it in the paper?
Do we not gotta make a motion?
Well, it's probably gonna be over budget as far as, yeah, I would.
Okay, I make a motion that we hire summer help for what we're doing, 10 to 25 hours per se.
I'll second that.
With Steve having the authority to go over if necessary, over the 25 if necessary, if there's more work for that person to do, based on his judgment.
Alright, we have a motion from Nancy, second by Christina, to have summer help for Steve. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Water manager?
So Susan and I are kind of tag teaming that process right now. She's doing the monetary aspect and the day-to-day cash outs and that kind of thing, whereas I'm doing more staff management, just to alleviate some of her time. So we had a mandatory staff meeting yesterday. Susan was there, Dave was there, myself, Angelique, Rachel, and Jean. We had 2 missing. We went over things like alcohol training. We gave them a date it needs to be done by, because that's a protection for us and themselves, of April 14th. We gave them 2 weeks to get that done, and the city pays for it. We went over cleaning duties, timeliness, closing protocol, all sorts of things like that. Their thoughts on what they want to be doing. It's very important to get their input, obviously. Events we have coming up on April 13th. Jean's doing a putt-putt event, I guess.
What's put?
I know, I'm so excited. Put event, and he's looking at actually having karaoke later that night to try and keep people around.
That Kenny said he would probably be able to do it, yeah.
Awesome. I hadn't heard his update yet. We need someone to paint and install the wood paneling in that north room, and then reinstall the speakers. Have we gotten anywhere on that, Dave? No? But we're in agreement, we're just gonna do a cream colored paint to match and wood paneling to match.
And Christina, right down, I noticed the other night, the soap dispenser in the men's bathroom has been broken. That needs to be replaced.
We've got one there, I think. We gotta get.
Yes, I keep getting asked that question if that was ever installed. I said, I don't know if it was even there, so.
It's in the back room, I know it's there.
Somebody can't apparently figure out how to install it.
Gotta drill through the.
No, there's holes there already, you just gotta.
No, you gotta drill another hole to mount it through that tile.
Can't Dwight do that?
No, no. We might see if Steve wants to, or otherwise we'll get Dave Myers to do it.
We also need to paint the men's bathroom as well, and there's gray paint in there, so I think one of the bartenders is just gonna.
The men's, I thought that just got redone.
It's just the
top.
Just above the
And
tile.
there was some light gray paint in the back room, so I figured why not just do it. Angelique's been really good about doing monthly specials and the mystery shots to decrease the oddball liquors that we have accumulated over the amount of time that they've been sitting in there. So mystery shots are coming back, and I don't even know what it was, Crown Vanilla shots. It was like, but we'll blast more of that on Facebook and then advertise in papers and stuff for karaoke.
Does the bar have a page?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Does
yeah.
Dwight still clean in there then? I mean, is he still
He
working
still
there?
is.
Now, yes.
Okay.
But I mean, looking at the expenses and the revenue, it's a pretty good increase of what we've seen percentage-wise of an actual profit, right?
Well,
Pretty good month.
yeah, this month, yeah. And the thing to note about last month was there was the $3,000 in upgrades for the bathroom that came out of that.
Yeah.
But yes, January and February are always our toughest months.
So that's a nice.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, you guys have a printout. I didn't do detailed expenses this month because I'm trying to keep up. So, you have questions,
You mean
just
on
ask.
this?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's about all we used to get.
Well, right, but at least, yeah, that's somewhat.
Well, and if you look to this one, you can tell what's far and what's not.
Yeah.
You just
Well,
have to
that's
do a little
last
research.
month, this month's.
Oh, yeah,
Not last
true.
month's, but yeah.
All right.
You know, your total expense.
Right.
Pages.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Go to the finance officer.
Okay, city cleanup day, we have set for May 31st. Like Christina stated, we've had some complaints. The one thing I just realized was it's the day before rummage sales. So I did call Cooks, asked them about June 7th would be the next Friday. They have that open. I don't know if you want to push it one more week. That would allow for everything that's left over from rummage sales to be thrown out there as well.
I think that's a logical idea.
June 7th.
I do too.
You can look at that both ways. If other people are coming to the town and they see a whole bunch of trash on the curb of the street, they're like, if you have a lot of traffic on rummage sales, all that stuff will be cleaned up before the rummage sales, so. Depends how you want your town.
When's that baseball?
That's not supposed to be out there till the following Monday anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in our ordinance, we can
Really,
advise
they're
for
supposed to be out there till
Summer
the
cleanup.
Monday before.
But people put it out there because other people find treasures.
Well, you got a week to
so-
shop.
So you look at it two ways.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Wait,
could-
wait.
you could
I was
jump
just
shop
looking, it's
and
the
you
week
could
after,
rummage
the
sale.
31st. Yep, that's what I was just looking at, that's what I thought.
When's the
Wait.
baseball? July, right?
July. Or just leave it May 31st.
I don't care.
It don't matter to me.
I mean, either way, they're gonna be seeing junk, because
I know.
if places start Thursday, like the Methodists start Thursday and do Friday as well, so it's gonna be out there anyway.
Correction, May 31st.
So what do you wanna do? You wanna go this 31st or June?
I go on June 7th.
I agree.
Correction.
June 7th then.
Next
Alright.
meeting will be October.
Okay.
We'll get a snowstorm and then we'll have to move it back.
Hey, today I received a letter from Cooks. We'd like to take a moment to extend our appreciation for the opportunity to provide service to your community through 2019. We hope the spring season finds all doing well. This has been a year where we have continued to have a challenge with fluctuating recycling prices. Our recycling vendor, Millennium Recycling, has increased our cost by 20%. This has affected our ability to provide recycling services at the current rate. We are happy to let you know that although this has had an impact on our business, we are able to hold our rate increase to 2.1% this year to offset these increases attached to the Millennium's letter issuing the rate increase in June of 2018. If you have any questions or concerns, please call me, blah, blah, blah. So that, right now, we pay Cooks $11.77 for garbage. We charge our customers $13 an hour, or $13, sorry, $13 per family garbage tote. If they want a second tote, they're charged $5 more. The extra cost that we charge them covers city cleanup and postage and printing fees. With that increase, that pushes our cost to $12.02. Given that amount, we won't be able to cover the extra expenses. So my proposal is to increase $1 to $14 per tote to cover that, plus the next possible increase, so we can at least absorb it 1 year instead of having to increase it all the time. So it'll be done by resolution. We can implement it next month or the month after. Okay?
Okay.
Election is Tuesday, April 9th for Ward 1. That's 7 o'clock a.m., 7 o'clock p.m. We need to have a meeting set within 7 days of the election to canvass votes. So we've done it the day after, we've done it the week after, you know, it's up to you. So to the 10th, 11th, 12th, or 15th.
April 10th would be Wednesday night, right?
Yep.
Would that be all right?
We have the economic development thingamabob in Sioux Falls is the
that's
10th
right,
and the
yeah.
11th, which is Wednesday and Thursday.
That's the schedule.
How many's going to that?
Me so far, I was gonna extend an invitation to Chuck Raymond since he's the head of our Economic Development Corporation. With the cost of it, I would assume he would want to go and pay for it himself, would be my hope, so the city doesn't have to foot the bill. But I think it's really important that if there's this type of tool at our fingertips, we're utilizing it. And if we wanna grow and we wanna do things, we need to involve our Economic Development Corp. We have to work with them, and I think it would be good for us to go together and learn together.
I might be going, but I'm not real sure I'm not sure, but I'll let you know before
So what's the hours on that, Christina? You're not gonna be home that night, Wednesday?
Wednesday it goes till 7 p.m.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, I'm coming home, but I get home at 8
We could have a meeting then.
No.
after I go to work that morning at 3 a.m.
What's going on Thursday?
It goes from 7:30 AM to 6 PM.
Oh. So Friday, what's Friday?
Friday the 12th,
I won't be available.
Monday, 15th.
Whoa, let me look. Tax day. I've already paid. I mean, I didn't pay.
It's good. Oh, never mind. It's Good Friday. It's Monday. Your calendar's weird.
I know.
I'm okay with
The 15th
Monday.
Monday the
okay.
15th?
6:30, 7?
Thursday, 6:30,
All right.
Okay,
Monday the 15th, 6:30. All right,
perfect.
all right.
All right, I am going to dive into an annual report, got quarterly reports to finish this month. I had Matt from Electronic Systems Equipment come in, we had, I had him move the equipment from the community cover so it's not visible, so that it will, and not, I asked him about upgrading our non-digital cameras to digital, because A, they're better quality, B, we don't have to use the recording system that the analog is. It's awful to look at, it's hard to pinpoint where you're at, and the digital one's much better. So I had him give me a quote for both the bar and the community center to allow to upgrade them. Plus that system allows for you can put as many cameras on it as you want, whereas our other systems only, like this, the community center one, I think we can only put 6 in there, 6 or 7. The one at the bar, you can only have 9. So the community center is $1,955 to upgrade 5 cameras, and the bar is $2,991 to upgrade 9 cameras. I'm not saying we have to spend it, but I think it's a good investment. We've had these cameras for quite a few years, and like I said, the digital cameras are so much better quality.
How long has it been since Michelle was here?
Like I said, a long time.
That's when we got them, while Michelle Neal was over there as manager. That's when they came in, the cameras.
I would say the bar is a necessity to upgrade that.
How much you say the bar one was?
$1,991.
How much for the city building?
$1,955.
$49, 46, and we did them both. Well, where would that money come from?
Well, obviously the bar would come from the bar.
Man, the
We got
community center's
any
got
money in
20,000
there?
in it, so. That's got 18,000.
We have $1,000 in equipment. We don't always use our materials budget. And it's an essential thing. You can always contingency transfer money to it.
Well, I'd just take it out of the community center for now, if we need money later in the fall.
Right, contingency
Yeah.
transfer it if we need to.
Make a motion to go ahead with both buildings.
I'll second.
Where's the bar at on this one? Is it just down here? Is that when you go by? Like there's no.
Yeah, that's all, that first patch is all general fund accounts. The bar is a revenue fund, so that's
Okay.
what goes on for your.
Okay, we have a motion from Stu, second by Christina to approve, or have them upgrade the cameras, both in the bar and the city, or community center. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, the May meeting is May 6th. That is also a school function. My children are part of. I don't wanna be here, so I'm asking to change it. It's a concert, end of year concert.
You're changing the concert?
No, I want to change this meeting date. So.
How about May 8th, Wednesday? I mean, would that be all right?
So,
That'd be a Wednesday.
Fine with me.
So May 8th?
At 7 o'clock then.
Okay, motion for that?
Move.
second,
We have a motion from Naima, second by Nancy, to have the May meeting on May 8th at 7 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, I got a phone call from the post office this morning about some of the flyers ended up in mailboxes. That's a federal violation. We could get in big trouble for that, so if we ever do it again, don't stick them in mailboxes. Okay, and I have some appointments this weekend at the end of the month to go to, but it's not a whole day thing, it's just
And ambulance or fire department?
I don't have anything update. I know Chris stopped and dropped off his flyers for the meal. Other than that, I know, and then he filled out all of their liquor applications. Through the state, I can approve them, you know, as you guys have said, for the fire department to do their liquor sales in without having to come to council for them. So he's got all those taken care of for the summer.
oh, you mean like weddings and stuff?
Yeah, weddings and just in case something else pops up that, you know, they need more immediate things. Just double check. Okay, I'm done.
All right, library?
Yep. Sherry apologizes that she can't be here. She wasn't feeling well and left work early. So, story hour is going well. We always break at the summer, so this last story hour will be Monday, May 6th. The kids can check out from the library over the summer and are encouraged to join the summer reading program. Daycare deliveries outreach program is going nicely. I'm always greeted most enthusiastically by the kids each week. This outreach program will also break for the summer, so we'll pause on Friday, the 24th, and resume in August when school starts. Summer reading program, this year's theme is a universe of stories. We will blast off our summer with Mr. Twister and his balloon show, Balloons in Space, to be held on Wednesday, June 19th at 10 a.m. in the South Gym. This is a free event and open to all ages. 1,000 books before kindergarten reading program. The first participant has reached 1,000 books. Sawyer Yackley is the first of our 18 participants to reach 1,000 books. The 2 public computers have been switched to ITC for internet provider. National Library Week will be April 7th through the 19th. The library board will be hosting an open house on Wednesday, April 10th from 4 to 5 for school staff and community patrons. The 34th annual Jump-a-thon fundraiser will be held Tuesday, April 23rd from 2:15 to 3:15 in the South Gym. Grades 1 through 6 collect pledges or donations for the community library. They need to collect $5 in order to participate. Those collecting 35 and up will receive a t-shirt at the Elementary Awards Day, and the top 3 collecting the most pledges will receive a money prize. Snacks and bottled water will be provided. Proceeds from this fundraiser go towards books and other materials for the library. Our bylaws have been revised and approved by the library board. I have sent them to the state library but have not yet heard a reply. A big thank you to our city attorney for his assistance with this mission. The next library board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, May 15th at 5 p.m. That was a lot.
All right, Park and Rec?
I have 2 applications for you guys to look over.
I also,
And a verbal application.
yeah, on the City of Elkton page, there was conversation in regards to Spanish classes. Learning English, Spanish-speaking people learning English, and English-speaking people learning Spanish. A couple weeks ago, I put in to the head of the language department, SDSU, and she and I had a nice conversation, and I sent her the information in regards to Park and Rec in terms of the director, and she thinks that there might be somebody that might be interested who would be a Spanish-speaking person. So that was what was done.
Would that being said, Steve, if you need a translator, I can give you 2 numbers for emergency purposes if you need to have somebody translate for you.
Okay.
When I was handing out flyers the other day, or no, they had to, some of the people had to use their children to translate for me, so worked out, but it was tough.
It was on the flyers translated.
No, this is before.
Oh, gotcha.
The first time.
When
when we're going door to door.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I almost felt united.
Alright, not a problem.
Something else at the park, bleachers. We're down there, when we build the crow's nest, bleachers would set in front of it. They have a portable they found. They'd be new for $7,400. Normally they're $13,000.
What, bleachers are gonna sit in front of the crow's nest, is that what you said?
Yeah, behind.
I thought that was gonna sit flush with the backstop.
No, it's gonna be set back.
Oh, okay.
And the bleachers would be in front of it. You'd overlook the bleachers, the people in the crow's nest, they would. And then if it was a portable one, they're normally 13 grand. They have found one for 7,400. That would be shipped here, we'd have to put it together.
And that's a permanent.
No, it's a portable one. It could be moved. You could hook onto it and take it to a different area if you wanted to then.
Nice. How many will it seat?
I'm not sure how many. If it was a 7-row or a 15-row. Can't remember what he said.
Where would
But
we
it would
store
have
it?
the
Railing.
railing and all that.
underneath stuff.
Yeah.
Fencing underneath, so
Cause
nobody
that-
goes through.
Aaron Thompson's new shed, that's where we started.
Do they have, do they have a, seating capacity regulations with the softball deal coming in? As for what size
They
it has to
figured
be?
this would be more than enough. They figure.
For sure.
Well,
And
no,
you
not,
don't
never
buy
for
it
sure.
and then say, oh.
Never for
it
sure.
wasn't big enough.
But we could always bring our other ones over there probably and set them along the fences. Them shorter 3-seated ones we have.
Didn't we lose one in the snow? I heard that one of them got crushed.
That can be fixed.
Okay. But at other state tournaments, do they all have bleachers like that? I mean, a lot of people bring chairs too, don't
Right,
they?
a lot of people bring chairs.
So.
We room for that too.
But there's a lot of them that have a grandstand too, like if you go to Commander or Brookings, any of them places, they have the crow's
Well,
nest
last
with
year was
grandstands. where-
I don't know.
Well, I thought it was in.
Baltic. Right?
Baltic they were talking.
Okay. I don't think
That's the one they were talking about we should go look at, and that would be what we'd have be, actually. But it was just suggested to me, if you found them, I don't think you're gonna find them any cheaper. They probably, we would probably have to pay for them, the city would. It isn't saying that we wouldn't be able to get some money back from the baseball association or fundraising or something too.
Well, and if they're movable, I mean, the soccer season comes after that. If we had a tournament, we could pull them over for like the bigger tournament games
Probably.
in the fall.
I think it's a good idea.
I can talk
It's
to
a
the
good
soccer
price.
association about chipping in.
Very good price.
Scott Stupin's been doing the checking. He's been looking all over on, I don't know, yeah, on his phone or whatever, wherever they look. I wouldn't have any idea.
Electronically compliant.
So,
Well, we got the money, don't we? So.
Yes, we do.
Yes and no.
So,
I mean, you're gonna see a total in there, but that doesn't necessarily mean
Right,
it's good,
because we
you
don't,
know.
do you have the lights and all that out of there from
No.
there yet?
that's not on there.
So you're gonna,
What's
I didn't
that?
see
The
that.
total on that was 6.
74.
Yeah.
74.
The lights,
Oh, the lights,
6 something.
I thought it was like,
Oh,
was
was
it
15, wasn't it
4,500? I don't remember, quite honestly.
I don't remember.
Like,
yeah,
baseball field? What's that? For baseball?
Last month?
Yeah.
Replacement
Yeah,
or something.
I got a replacement, it was a bunch of.
Yeah, I thought it was in the 6s.
There was 6 of them at $646, I think.
Yeah,
And 6 of them.
I thought it was like $4,200.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that's more.
That'd be about right.
So, yeah, but still, there would be still some money in
Right.
there, you know.
But then,
Well, and that's our paying for a park and rec person too.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
and then there's, that number I had gotten at one time for the crow's nest was 63 or 6,400, but I haven't got that back yet from Kevin on that, for his bid. And then, the concession stand, restrooms, and that, which I thought Patrick was gonna be here, but Kevin.
I got it right here.
Oh, you got it, okay. How much is it?
You guys go look at it.
11,000 something?
No, it's the very back page would be the total.
$10,500. Yeah.
So we might have to borrow some.
Yeah, that's gonna bust us by. Well, we can't pay a park and rec person and we're deficit, $6,000.
Yeah, there's 630 per fixture. Right. I got it down.
We can move money around, right, if we have to.
$110 a bulb.
You can,
Really?
Yeah, $110 a bulb.
Oh, wow.
supplement the budget at the end of the year.
And the LEDs are
We have,
1,658.
if this is something that wants to be spent and you all agree on it, you can supplement the budget,
I think we need
funds available.
6, right? I don't
We
remember.
have funds available to pay for things like this,
Need 6.
even though it's not in the budget. The budget is income coming in this year only, obviously. And there's been plenty of years where we haven't spent our entire budget at 42.
Well, I'll make a motion to buy the bleachers.
You were off by $220.
I'll second that.
Not bad.
Nancy. All right, well, Stu made a motion, Nancy seconded it to purchase them bleachers if he can get that done at that cost.
Right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Stu, or
Scott.
Scott,
Yes, I can call him tomorrow.
yeah. Okay,
I'll make a motion to go ahead with the crow's nest and the new concession stand.
Second?
I think we should hold off on the concession stand as it's on a different field. That doesn't affect the baseball tournament.
that's gonna, you know what, that bid can have, but that don't, maybe. Cause that was gonna have 2 restrooms in it, and I don't think that's in here.
I'd like to see that motion separated
Okay,
into
well,
the
let's
crow's
separate it.
nest and the
Just the
concession
crow's
stand
nest, okay.
separate.
Let's do the
I'll
crow's
make a
nest.
motion to just go ahead with the crow's nest.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion from Stu, second by Christina, to go ahead and with the crow's nest. I'll get that going. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
That's just this one right here, right?
That's just, this labor. No, that's these two together. This goes with that.
Together?
It's tells you what it is.
Yeah, this goes with that.
So,
But I don't think the plumbing is in there. So we
Well, no, that's not the plumb, that's just material.
Yeah,
It's just-
so
And
we don't
labor.
have the
Yeah.
cost with the
That's
restrooms
it.
are.
Yeah.
So we gotta get that together.
Well, you need to get that from a separate person.
Well, yeah, usually they get that put together in there.
You said
He
the,
usually does, but he's run out of time,
and the crow's nest was 64? Is that what you said, 6,400?
or roughly,
You better be getting at that shortly.
yeah. That's something, and I've told Kevin to get the Raptor ordered.
What's the date on that again?
Well, it's in
July
July something.
28th.
Be the third weekend in July,
19, 20, 21.
same as the
Emmett
Emmett
Fest, Poker Run.
or the poker run.
19, 20, and 21.
That's the third weekend,
Same week.
yeah. That's when that state tournament would be here.
Well, we gotta improve it down there.
Are they gonna cut them some breaks on camping and stuff then?
I can't tell you.
That's not city owned, so.
Oh, nothing you can do about it.
That's.
If they want it, they can. I've talked to them to see if, but I don't know.
It's
I did talk to
advertised
Judy.
as part of the accommodations.
I did talk to Judy, but I don't know. To let her ask them.
Or I suppose she gotta talk to me.
Right. They think they're cheap enough already.
That's probably, that's compared to other places camping, I don't know.
I don't camp, so I can't tell you. All right. Anybody have anything else?
About this 15.
There?
I'm not gonna say who it is, but there's an organization interested in doing a park project that would cost nothing to the city. Once they secure the funding, they'll come and present it to us.
Okay. All right. 2000, budget 19, is it overview?
This is for February. Obviously, I hope to have March done before, I'm gonna aim for before the 15th meeting, so that at least we can catch up. Any questions?
All right. Move on then. 5-year plan, project.
Stop. We have a fee resolution.
Oh.
Probably need to get thicker glasses or something.
Yeah.
Or
I was
something.
just trying to move forward.
Table mount magnet.
This is for, for city sewer, pumping into the city sewer with your sump pump. So resolution 2019, 04.01, can't read my own writing. Resolution set forth a proposed maximum fine for illegal sump pump discharges into the sanitary sewer of the city of Elkton. Be resolved by the governing board of the city of Elkton that the following fine and cost shall be effective for violation of the following ordinance. Article 12.3.3.8, sump pump discharge into the sanitary sewer. Yeah, we'll love it. Fine of $500, cost, court cost $62.50 for a total of $562.50. Further be it resolved that an emergency is hereby declared to exist, and this resolution being necessary for immediate preservation of public peace, health, and safety shall be enforced and effective from and after this passage of approval.
$500 a day, a week.
A day.
I guess it doesn't.
Day.
I think it's a day.
Per day.
Per day.
So you have full governing power to go find sump pumps running in the sewer. Go, Steve.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sign it, please. So we need a motion to.
I move.
I'll second.
A motion from Naima, seconded by Christina for the resolution number
Through research, water towns is $1,000.
2019-2004. All in favor?
I don't have a
Oh.
pump, you don't need to.
Motion carried.
So I'm not listening.
I'm just gonna find you anyway.
I don't care.
That's what you said, right?
Can I send you this and get it published this week? Well, it's official in the legal, it has to go
Do
in.
you want it to go this week? I still have room if you
Yes,
want
I
it
would
go
like
this
it to
week.
go in this week,
Yep.
so I can send it to you before I leave
Yep.
tonight.
Do you want it, I'll put it in the legals for sure, but do you want it like on the front page?
Yes.
So people know?
I mean, yeah.
With no charge, I mean.
Yeah.
Get your highlighter out and highlight every copy before it
I
goes
can
out.
put it on the front too. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
May I,
Maybe what?
have a copy of that?
I can send you an email copy if that's okay.
I love it, thank you so much.
All right, we'll move on. Economic development.
Susan, can you take a picture of it? She wants to put it on Facebook as well. Let's do it that way. That way it gets out there.
Economic development.
The Brookings Brookings Chamber just elected their new head of the chamber, so I've reached out to them to get a hold of them, and then talking about the economic development event in Sioux Falls, and asking if Chuck would like to go along. So I got it.
All right,
Have you talked to anybody from that group, the economic development group?
not since I talked to Chuck the other day, they're getting it scheduled to have their meeting. We haven't got it scheduled yet, they're working at it. Talked to Chuck Hagerbelt and Chuck Raymond. Chuck's the president, Raymond is, so he said, well, we usually go through them, so they're getting set up for a date. Okay. City infrastructure projects, employee comp time.
Okay, you guys talked about paying out comp time. I did ask for other people's input, other finance officers, and I didn't get very many responses. But under certain prescribed condition, employees of state and local government agencies may receive compensatory time at a rate of not less than 1.5 hours for each overtime hour worked instead of cash overtime pay, up to 240 hours. An employee must be permitted to use compensatory time on day requested unless doing so would unduly disrupt the operations of the agency. Beyond that, it's however you want to handle paying out. You're getting very close to 240 if you haven't hit that. So, we don't have a policy on paying out comp time besides being used as comp time. I think, given the circumstances we're in right now, it needs to be addressed and we need to change our policy. So.
How long does that take?
You can do it right now. I just need to change it in the book.
Make a
What do you
motion.
want? What do you want? Do you want him to go turn around and tomorrow and say, I want all 240 hours paid out?
No, we're gonna have to have a cap.
Right. I would suggest 40 hours max a pay period, maybe a month, I don't know. We need to.
It takes 6 months to catch up then.
Right,
What
and he's
would
gonna
you-
go
what
over.
would
So,
you
but
like?
if you do a pay period, that's every
It
2
doesn't
weeks.
matter to me.
You have a preference? You got-
Whatever the budget can allow.
You can give that.
We're gonna have to borrow money at the end of the year
I would
regardless.
suggest
You know,
up to 40
Up
hours
to
of pay
40 hours every pay period.
with,
Cool.
adjustments.
That's fine.
Because as of now, he can't take a day off and we're not gonna let him, so.
Yeah. Can't be done anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Can I make a motion to that?
Yes,
Yeah, I did.
I'll second.
Yeah, Nancy. Stu. Okay, up to 4,
And it's per request.
yeah.
You want me to pay you out?
Sure.
Right, motion from Nancy, second by Stu, to pay 40 hours a pay period, if he requests it.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And that's for anybody who has it.
Yeah,
For you
you're-
too, Susan.
He usually uses it.
Although I may end up going into.
Are you gonna put
All right.
that much bill?
No, but I may have to come in and do some more off hours to get some stuff done.
Alright, we'll move on. Tiling? We gotta,
Yeah, talk to John, he's still waiting on
Yeah,
him.
okay.
So,
and then citywide texting.
Here, Susan, you talk about it. Sorry,
Thanks.
I just started reading it, you're probably.
Didn't you have something else though?
There was the fact that, TAL uses one kind of notification system, and, Steve,
Well, I know that I know through Park and Rec they've done Notify Me, but I don't know how that works.
Ask Melanie at the bank, cause she does it for, sends out to all the Booster Club members too, she's on
Okay.
the thing.
Well, ITC, this was several years ago, we got this from ITC, and I assume they still do it. And I'm not 100% sure how this works again, but they do charge a fee. And I know it's not just texting, it's also phone calls. So,
That might be our best bet. I talked to Aurora, and unfortunately my information is in my phone, which is recording us, so I can't get it out, but they use a different company. It's not ITC. I don't remember what she said it was called. It's it's $1 a minute, and when they send a text out, each text is considered a minute. So yeah,
Wow.
so that's probably gonna be a lot better.
So you want phone too, though, right?
Yeah, this would allow for phone, email, and cell phones. So it's $9.95, it depends on the plan, $9.95 to $39.95, depending on how many contacts you need. Obviously, we would probably either be in the first or second option plan. And other than that, I'm not 100% sure how it works. There's a one-time account activation fee for $25, but like I said, I'd have to call them and ask them to go through with this. I know it requires a database. I'll have to get somebody in here to help. We have to have permission to have those phone numbers or whatever entered into the system, so something has to go out to everybody who wants, so that they know it's available and they can sign up to do it.
I mean, in the case of an emergency like we had, it took us, what, 3 hours to do the whole town between
and this would
5 of us plus a bunch of
5
kids.
minutes.
Yeah.
If
So it's
that.
well worth it in case of an emergency.
And we could use it for snow removal, for, you know,
Yeah.
just about
Just
anything.
everything.
Yeah, tornadoes.
Yeah, you know, wanting to clear the city, you know, Main Street to clean, sweep for her Harvest Festival, you know, that type of stuff. Get your vehicles off the street so they can plow, whatever.
Then check into it.
Yeah, bring it to our next meeting.
Yeah, bring that to the next meeting.
Do we ever put a snow ban on?
There is a snow ban, I mean, there is on Main Street at least, you're not supposed to park on Main Street when it snows 6, you know, I don't
2
know.
inches.
2 inches.
Yeah.
That's emergency. Do we have to wait until next meeting to find?
She can have it ready by the April meeting here.
Yeah.
We'll have what ready by the April meeting?
That.
Ready for what?
The
Let us know the
information.
information.
I will attempt, thanks.
I can do it. I have to talk to him anyway.
Please.
Got it.
Okay.
You know, I'm spending time over there too, so you know, let's
Yeah, you're doing
pull
double
me
duty.
all over the rest of
All right.
Double duty.
Double duty.
Yes, you can't talk either.
Number 3.
Yeah.
Work session.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We know, we were there.
You were there.
Okay, is that where we are right now?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. This, if you get several of them, it is between $10 and $15, and I'll pass it around along with the thing that they sent. This is, you were talking about, we have some of these. I don't, how many do you think we have?
I don't know.
Not 60 probably.
No, probably not.
And this particular puppy has what they call a privacy screen. So you can be writing. And this is so that you can have your phone in here and hang. And you put a little thing on the back, but you can take a look at that. This was something that they sent and they want our money, so you can see. And I see other people have them too.
What would we need the phone for when you're in a meeting?
Yeah.
Why do you need
Well,
this?
they said, well, that might work, and I said, well, send it on. Free stuff. So I don't know, I mean, that's something that came up. The other thing that I have,
You gotta remember, we're not Sioux Falls.
Just a privacy thing.
it wasn't, anyway, so what happened also, there will be some other door prizes that I already have, and I won't bring them in, I'll make a big box. So we're already at, after I get to the United Way and get some stuff, we're already at probably 25 to 30. And that doesn't include anything.
So how much
with
does this cost?
I think it's like $2 if you order.
For all of this right here?
No, just for that you have in your hand. If you
This?
order 25, it might be 2 something, yeah.
This is $2?
That's what the setup of our, that's gonna be like 2 1/4.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And
So
the book?
She said 10 to 15.
that's between 10 and 15. But see, this all has our logo on it. So I just thought that I'd bring it and,
You should just got postcards.
postcard.
Well,
Oh,
I
like,
know,
like,
that peanut butter popcorn was pretty phenomenal.
Was it?
I can't help my children.
I still have one left.
They had prize buckets on each table with different stuff, and I thought it would be cool to kind of show off what we have in town, different things from our stores, and
So you want it to
put
be
it-
like,
Yeah.
donations like that?
Oh, we got a year.
Fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I just thought that I would bring it and get everybody in the spirit and the mood.
Well, you don't get that
See?
anymore.
You're hanging on your neck.
See?
And then in self-defense, you can, there you go.
So I can text and you can't see it?
No, it's just, I don't know, so it's
Or so I can just
so it's-
have it?
Yeah,
That's
so you
not
can
private.
have it,
The only
yeah.
thing that's private is this.
No, I need that at work. We had a broken phone.
I like this
Even
one, kid.
candies don't have pockets.
My 10-year-old. It's kind of
Well,
nice.
I figure, I'm not gonna be making, oh no, that's not gonna work. I just brought what I've gotten so far.
Alright.
Cool.
Bills.
Move on to the.
Yep, and you see that
Bill.
privacy thing?
Yeah, that's cool.
Isn't that nice?
The only thing I don't have for bills right
Thanks,
now
guys.
is
See you guys.
CHS.
Good night.
Bring that to
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
the next
You don't have CHS?
No, because the first of the month is when they run their stuff.
Never have CHS.
They're always late.
I usually can call them, but today I can at some point because their system's shut down or to in work of doing the bills, so they can't tell me anything.
Hands-free phone holder. That's what the key is that it's hands-free.
Do you know they pick up couches and chairs and stuff at the citywide?
Yes.
Yeah, they do.
Basically
cost for
anything
that.
but construction material, paint, unless it's dry.
Air conditioner.
No, and those all have to be paid for, but yes, that's pretty much the
Tires.
restriction.
They don't pick up
Tires that you have to pay
Tires
for,
have to
You have to
pay
pay
for
for them.
but they'll pick them up if you pay for them.
And
Batteries.
Batteries, no.
Well, you can don't take them for it.
Yeah, we don't pick up batteries.
Yeah.
That don't cost
Yeah, that's what I'm
nothing.
saying.
Couch and chairs. don't
No,
cost
they don't,
nothing.
the only thing that costs are appliances,
Yeah.
dehumidifiers, water heaters, tires, those are the main things that cost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like this year, we're not picking up anything with Freon in it. It's staying on the curb and then, they're gonna come around and get that later. It actually costs the landfill, it's like $25, I think, cause they have to have somebody coming in.
Right,
Something.
right, and so ours cost might go up too, because Cook's charges us what the landfill charges them,
Okay, so we got,
so. Any questions on the bills?
no,
Did you tell us CHS?
No, I don't have a CHS.
Motion by-
I just heard
she'll email it
CHS.
to you if you want it.
Okay, by who?
Two,
Okay.
second?
Oh, I heard the CHS, so I was like, what?
Second for what?
Bills.
For the bill.
Deanna did.
Oh, I didn't hear. Sorry. The motion from Stu, second by Deanna, to approve the bills. All in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carried. Did you go to executive session?
We need a
We
motion.
need a motion to
I'll
go.
make a motion.
I'll second it.
Four.
Personnel.
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 We're now going into
Do we have a
executive
second?
session for personnel reasons.
Deanna did. Let me
We're
know
coming out
when.
of executive session.
Okay, and I'll make the motion.
Nancy,
Yes, I'm making the motion that,
no, we'll get it come out, make a motion for that, don't we?
No,
no,
Don't need motion for
We're out
that?
of executive
We're out.
Okay.
So I'm making the motion that we go ahead and give Susan her raise as she's met her requirements on her 60-day review.
Okay,
I'll second it.
5%.
5% raise, I got that
Yes,
wrote here.
yes.
We have a motion from Nancy, second by Deanna to give Susan a 5% raise. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Make a motion, you adjourn.
Motion carried.
I second it.
Stu, Nancy,
Yeah.
we have a motion by Susan, second by Nancy to adjourn. All in favor?
Amen.
At 10:27, 26.
127, 125.
Oh, you got 10:25.
Yep.
Yeah, you want